Okay, here we go. Of course, there's nobody coming. Where the hell are my glasses? Yeah. Well, okay then. So what I've got is if you haven't heard the story or the backstory here, all the things it's always got a delay, and I forget about the delay. How you doing, man? So I decided somebody hacked my computer or my uh, internet. They said my browser had been hijacked. I started doing some VA stuff on the internet because they kept pushing it on me and doing some banking and shit. I get hit immediately. So, and somehow Bill Sylvie got blocked by me, and I have no reason to block him. So I fucked that up too. But I unblocked him, but I don't know how that even happened. Sometimes me and Keys, I don't know. Anyway, but here's the stuff. This is just there's a whole other box of this stuff. And this is the minor stuff. This is just like the little teaser beginning. This is the appetizer to the main course. But uh, here's some of the stuff that he kept for me. Let's see. This is this damn thing with the. Okay, there we go. So let's get it one by one. Okay. Why is it doing that? How can I get it to stop doing that? Let me see if I can get that off. I can turn that off, right? None. Okay, there we go. All right. See that? I know the lighting in here sucks. So, unused cover. Got a bunch of them. So, I don't know what he really planned to do with this stuff other than keep it for me. I'm not rightly sure what he think I was going to do with it. Maybe he figured I'd run out of. So, here's the Card Master. He's got several of these. These are box lids. So he probably did, he didn't do just boxes, but that was a big part of it. It was a printing company. I forget the name of it now, but they eventually got bought out by Hallmark. They were a supplier for Hallmark, and then Hallmark just bought them out years later. Anyway, they were on the East Coast, not too far from Avalon Hill. In fact, he had called on Avalon Hill a couple of times. He did work with TSR, boxes, blister packs, calendars, and some books, even hardcover books like Unearthed Arcana. He worked with TSR on other things. So, Rogues Trader, these kind of deals. And like I say, this is just one thing. There's more in there. There's a couple of pieces of original art. I'm going to pull those out at some point too. Here's the basic. These are the boxes that you would buy, but they just came off the press, and he took some of them as samples to show people, and then he kept a hold of them. This is second edition. That's why I didn't recognize it. This one, second edition stuff. I told him, stop giving me the second edition stuff. I wasn't, at the time I wasn't interested. I don't play second edition, but I wish I would have told him to give me the stuff just so I would have had it. So he said some of it never made it to print. I don't think this is stuff that didn't. I think all this stuff has been printed, but I don't know. Here's some second edition Dragon Lance. stuff. It's got several copies of this. What's this now? Oh yeah, this is a Doctor Doom. The Lands of Doctor Doom, some campaign set for Marvel. So there's a couple of copies of that. Here's a boxed adventure. All this is second edition. So here's the funny thing. I love my uncle, and I'm not. This isn't meant to be, but here's the thing. Tony didn't play D&D, but he knew it. He knew it real well, and I ain't. So this guy, he was addicted to making a deal. He loved rummage sales. He loved flea markets. That was his hobby. But he got a little too addicted to it. Like one of the things, again, loving him to death. I'm not trying to run down the dead so much, but sometimes you could take it too far. He haggled with a 10-year-old kid over, those singing bass. He had one and he put it for sale at a rummage sale. And an adult was going to buy some piece of furniture that he had. And they said, "Can you throw in the bass thing for my kid, this bass?" And Tony didn't want to give it away for free. So he started haggling with the kid on this singing bass. It was a little tacky. So he got a little bit. So my reason I bring this story up is he had a lot of TSR stuff. He saved some of it for me to sell or to keep. And I say or to sell because he loved a deal so much he wouldn't be hurt if I took his gifts and sold them. But he cherry picked out a lot of the stuff that was supposed to be for me and then took it to the rummage sale and sold it because it started to become worth a lot of money. So I don't blame him, but that's just the way he was. He kind of was addicted to it. Here's the Ravenloft. I think I just showed that one. There's two of each. So this stuff is fairly common. These all existed. But there's stuff in another envelope that I have, very large envelope, that is a little bit more rare, according to him. So this is just some of it. So I don't know that anybody would be interested in this kind of stuff other than to go, "Oh, that's neat." But these are all things that, as far as I know, were on the shelves. So the other thing that I have is, like I said, it's a very large archive, and I'm going to pull it out at some point. But a little Star Frontier stuff. So, and then of course he gave me, I don't know what this isn't TSR, but this is one of the last things he worked on. I don't remember what it was for. It was a box. But he knew I loved Star Wars, so he grabbed a couple of them. I think it was something that they were going to set up in stores as like a point of purchase type of thing. So there's a lot more of it. He also gave me, I don't have it handy, but he also gave me the software that they made. They made two or three games for Apple computers, and they weren't sold a lot, but I do believe some made it to the shelf. I forget. One was Dungeon. It was a computerized version of the board game Dungeon. He gave that to me. And it was one of the rare things that, and it turned out it wasn't even that rare, which is fine, but that was one of the things he could have made a lot of money off of, and he gave to me. And there was another one. It had an orange box. I don't know if it was one of the first computerized D&D adventures, I believe, but I can't remember the title of it. But the reason they stopped making them or stopped they had plans to make more, but they felt that it was like at the time it was like 60 some bucks is what the unit cost of these things were. And they said most 14-year-old kids don't have 60 bucks, at that time 60 bucks meant a lot more than it does now. Um, yeah, he had he had a business degree and a art degree minor. Um, so yeah, he would work with the artists and in one part of the process, and then he would do the sales shit because he was TSR. Excuse me, TSR was like a client, like a customer of his thing. So, but they would work together to get the typesetting and the arrangement and all that to work with his company's machinery, and the artist would have a proposal and a picture, and you go, well, this is uh, whatever too big, or for whatever reason won't work, or so they kind of went on a back and forth discussion about how to get the artwork to fit right on the boxes and stuff like that and arrangements. Um, but he was also a salesman. He'd go in there and say, "This is what we can do for you. We can work with your artists. We can make the thing work on our packaging equipment and put it out." So when you hear people talk about, like guys like Kuntz talking about the different types of material that they used and how some of the older books and sets used a different type of like cardboard or whatever, and they were looking for an outfit that had the ability to be put out more volume, and the shrink wrapping. I think he talked about that with Bill. That was my uncle that came in and had all that capability and brought it to them so that they could expand. And he worked with them all the way till Watsy took over. He also worked with FASA. Like I said, he did a little bit with Avalon Hill. Um, he worked with Reaper Miniatures in their blister packs also. I don't know. I know this that he I don't know about, as far as about the original artwork or whatever, but he did tell me this was on his, he was pretty effed up from stomach and pancreatic cancer at the point he was telling me this stuff. But he says, what I'm giving you, some of this stuff, as I recalled, were projects that we worked with the company on, but eventually were canceled and never really made it to full print. And that's why he was going to give it to me, because he figured that would be something pretty interesting to have, or potentially financially attractive. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a tough story, man. He was did do well. He got cancer, and it was really beating the shit out of him. It was stomach cancer. It went into uh, like pancreatic and all that at the end. Um, so what happened was he went into remission. Thank God, for uh, like 6 or 8 months, and it was like nothing had happened. The dude just went from, oh my God, look how bad, to normal Tony again. And then it wasn't, you know, uh, and then it came back with a fucking vengeance. And it was awful. So he spent, and he was one of these deals where they come in and they tell you, this is how long you got. And he spent that time making arrangements, you know, just, and then saying goodbye to everybody. And he gave me this stuff just before just before he died. So some tough shit. But yeah, he said he here's the wild part. He's got this shit. I mean, I had heard the word, the phrase Dungeons and Dragons. I don't even know if I'd ever even seen a package of the stuff. I started playing wargaming, and I was introduced to that in a pretty interesting way. If you haven't heard this story or anybody else's, I'll tell you the story real quick. So I'm sitting in a sandbox with three of my buddies, and we were playing with toy soldiers, Mark's toy soldiers, real nice toy soldier, not that cheap, flashy shit that you buy at the dime store. That's you know the toy soldiers that a lot of us played with. I had a ton of those too, but my grandmother bought me Mark's toy soldiers. These fuckers, they were model, and we would play with them, and it just got boring to just set them up and stare at them. We said, what if they moved? This is before computers were even a thing in your house and stuff. And so he said, what if we could make them move? Too bad they're not remote control or something. So we said, well, what if we bring in some sound effects? We tried bringing in firecrackers and stuff like that. And then the adults came after us. We were real young. We were way too young for fireworks. So we got mosh for that. So then I asked my uncle, I says, hey, can I use I got a lot of uncles. And I asked one of them, I says, can I use your movie camera to make, war movies and stuff? Yeah, this one really sucked watching the breasts. So but anyway, so long story short, we try to make a movie. We got four, testosterone laden, on the edge of puberty, and these boys start fighting with each other because no, your tank didn't blow up, yours did, that kind of shit. So this guy saw us fighting and he came, what the hell's going on? He was visiting my dad. My dad comes out with him and he's like, what are you guys doing? Beating the hell out of each other. It's embarrassing. We explained what we were doing and all this shit. The guy came back a week later with a copy of Ongrief, a late 60s miniature war game, and said, try this. If you want a story to be told with your toy soldiers, play this game. That's how I started playing wargaming. So that same year, later on, I go over to my uncle's house, the uncle that had all the TSR stuff. And he had a refrigerator for beer was in the basement. So my dad and my uncle are sitting around at the kitchen table. They did this every Saturday, smoking cigarettes, just talking and socializing. Hey, boy, go get me some beer. So I run down there and I get some beer. And on a table, he had all these foldable tables that he would take to these rummage sales. He loved rummage sales. And he had all this stuff laying on one of them. And it was, as a kid, I didn't even know what it was, but it had the color and sight of, this is a toy or a game or something. So I went over there and I peeled off some of it was like half covered by blankets and shit. And it was Rogues Trader and a bunch of other D&D stuff. And what the hell is this? So I start looking for it, and all of a sudden I hear my dad, where the hell's that beer? Why's it taking so long? So I run up there, so I run up with one of the books, the Rogues Trader book. And I says, Tony, you play this stuff? What is this deal? And he goes, yeah, I started working with him. I've been doing it for several years. He says, you play that stuff? And I says, well, I'd like to learn. He gave me every product TSR ever made. He would go he got a sample of everything. And so he would bring all that stuff. So while he's dying in bed, and at the end, it was real rough, just excruciating pain. He would just holler out in wicked, it would go away after a while, 2 minutes or so. It was awful. So in between this, he says to me, he says, remember that beer shit with the Rogues Trader? And I said, yeah, sure. He says, go right down there and look to your right. You'll see a dresser drawer. In the bottom, the last drawer on the bottom is your stuff. I've been squirreling away for years. I know you want to start this business. There you go. So I got all this stuff. I've been carrying it around for years. And I just thought, maybe it's, I put it in my back pocket and thought, I don't know if I want to sell it, but I know Tony, he he said the way that he thought that would be the best use of it would be turn a profit on it. Um, but I was afraid of it being damaged, and I don't, you know, I had a household at the time that was pretty chaotic, so I had it very very tucked away. And now that I've moved, I keep contemplating when's a good time to pull this out. And because things in the last couple of days haven't gone real well with the social media, and then I've made some missteps and stuff like that, I thought maybe, hey, this might be a way to kind of be a reversal of fortune. Who wouldn't be interested to see this stuff? So I'm slowly pulling it out to see. I've talked to Rob about it. He said he would take a look at it. I talked to Bill and see because I think some of this stuff I'll need to have identified. I think, at least according to Tony. Some of it I don't even know what it is yet. I wouldn't even want to look at it. So, um, and I thought if I could get anybody to get a hold of Zeb Cook, I'd like Zeb Cook to look at it too, especially some of the second edition stuff. So, so I went in there and I said, I'm not really ready to pull it all out because it'll make a hell of a mess. But I saw that I had that one little package that was loose, that was easily transportable. I just moved a bunch of stuff from I had my stuff at a storage facility, and that place got sold. The guy sold the whole thing. So I sold the land to a developer and all this. So you got to get out by a certain time. So because I had to move all that stuff, I kind of got at it, and I go, well, now that I have it in my hands, I should put it somewhere where I can get at it. So some of the more interesting pieces they're not within arm's reach, but they're in a place where I'm going to go get them and go through them, and I'll put them on screen for people. So um, see what it is. But some of it I have looked at, and I've seen it at least two full size poster easels of uh, original artwork. So that'll be interesting to look at. Yeah. So that's my and I've been calling it Billy Baru because you ever seen Caddyshack and he pulls out that old putter. So that's why I keep using that phrase to describe it. But that's just the teeniest tip of the iceberg. But yeah, he had worked with those guys. So um, and it was great. He got me to be able to meet all these dudes at one point or the other. Some of them he's had over to his house for dinner. Some of them I've met in bars. A lot of them I've met in at Gen Con. What would happen was I'd go play games all weekend at Gen Con, and one day uh, Tony and the VP of sales for TSR would walk through the convention, the whole thing, and check it all out and talk to people and all this stuff. And they always come and search me out. And when they found me, they'd say, "All right, you want to go meet Gary?" One year's it was, "You want to go meet Gary? You want to go meet Zeb? You want to go meet Rob? And shit." So it was great. It was a great little way in. Um, so Rob doesn't remember me. That was several decades ago, but Rob was one of them. Gary was one. Uh, Zeb. Uh, who else? Easley, Jeff. All these guys. So venting, huh? Been a bad day, huh? I can dig it, but but yeah, it just seemed like the right time to pull it out. Zeb Cook, he was one of the authors and writers for. He came in a little later, but he wrote a lot of adventures and stuff like that for D&D. Oh, hmm, yeah. Um, so yeah, it was a great opportunity. And on top of everything else, now I want to sound like Mr. Privileged guy, but they always comped me. Mike didn't Mike uh, Martin was the name of the VP of sales for most of the years of Gen Con in Milwaukee. And Mike didn't have any friends that gamed. So all the employees were given a pass to give to a friend to get into the convention free. Mike didn't know anybody. He didn't give a shit. So he always gave me his pass. So I always got in. I never had to pay the 4-day fee. I had to pay for the games, but I never had to pay the 4-day admission when Mike was there, Mike Martin for TSR. So that was neat. So I'd always walk in with a badge. I'd get it early, sign up for my game, stuff like that. Now, back at Parkside and all that was kind of a little different deal, um, but at the big one in Mecca, I always got to walk through the door with the VIP badge. Zeb, he was a nice enough guy, you know. I mean, I didn't meet him anywhere other than Gen Con, I think. So it was fairly brief. Some of these guys I got to have a beer or something with, like that. Um, but yeah, he was cordial, and but it was a brief thing. So I asked him a couple of questions, and you know, remarked on his work, and that was it. So um, Gary was neat, and then I ran into Gary a couple of times. It was really neat. I got to meet Gary briefly, and he remembered my face as I was walking through the con a little bit later, and he kind of jumped out and made a comment to me and stuff like that, which was neat. And then I did go over and ask him a question, and I thought he was alone. I thought he was just standing, but it turns out he was actually engaged in conversation with this entire group of people. He was like giving a little talk. And I asked him something about game mechanics because I didn't always enjoy some of the game mechanics and stuff like that. Fucking guy. He was talking to me very gently and very quietly. Not that he got mad at me or anything like that, but Gary, I mean, his voice could carry. And he turned around and told everybody he was talking to the question that I asked, and then gave an answer at full decibel. And I started doing this shit. So, oh god, it was funny. So that was my three very seconds worth. Well, the meeting it was more than seconds. I got to shake his hand. I talked to him. He asked me if I played, what I was doing with it, stuff like that. It was a nice little exchange. The other two were just brief little, but it was fun. So, but yeah, Zeb was a nice guy. Um, Very matter of fact, all that sort of stuff. So, I don't, I wasn't a very small kid, but it's just like, oh, here's the boss, and he's got some of these dweebs with him, and they want my autograph type of thing. They probably got that kind of shit a lot, but it was very nice that I was able to get that access. Other people, yeah, but a lot of those guys were playing anyway. You didn't have to stand behind a velvet rope to talk to Rob or those guys. Mike Carr. Mike Carr was there all the time. I played games with him every year, and he was another D&D ish alumni and made a lot of games. Worked for TSR, or at least made Dawn Patrol for TSR and stuff like that. You, you know, it was a little different then. It wasn't like people like I got to meet Gil Gerard, but I had to wait in line, and he was behind some screen and stuff. And Aaron Gray and George Takai and all those people. So yeah, it was interesting. They always made it real fun to. I always nobody gave a shit, but I had the VIP on my badge. Ooh. So that was neat. But we'll pull some of that stuff out and see what it's like, and anything that I don't recognize, I'd like to have. I'll ask Bill or Rob or somebody, if they recognize it. But Rob said, he goes, I wasn't there at the time. Some of the, you might be best to look for somebody for Zeb because they might have more knowledge on some of those projects than he did. So that's why I was seeing if I get anybody to get a hold of him. Excuse me, to ask. So, but there's Witters, and Roger Witters, I believe, and he follows me, and he was art manager or art director or whatever at TSR for some time, and he might have some insight as well. But that was much later on. Shit, that I don't even know if that guy's as old as I am. But that's okay. He still might have some insight. So, just thought it'd be neat to pull out. I keep trying to endeavor to do at least a daily video now so people can keep in touch, and I keep messing up writing posts, and like you say, you got too many people who are ignoring each other and all that sort of stuff. So, and then I go and make a mistake and hit the wrong button and end up blocking Bill Sylvie on top of everything else. So I've decided that I'm better off in front of a camera, as much as I despise having to do that. I'm really not a big fan of showing my face, quite honestly, but it does. I seem to do better at this than typing shit out on Twitter and places like that. Something always goes wrong. Or I say something nasty. I really don't say nasty things that much, but I guess sometimes I do get terse about rules exchanges and stuff like that. I don't realize, it doesn't seem like it's terse to me, but I grew up going to military school in the winters, and then I was in the Army. So, yeah, it just seems like what I say doesn't seem like it's that hardcore, because but these days. So I guess I'm insulting people when I don't even realize it. She said, my co-host says, you should stop making those voices. People are thinking you're mocking them. So I tend to, for whatever reason, do this weird voice when I'm quoting somebody else when I tell an anecdote. And she said, you should stop doing that. So I'll endeavor to stop doing that if it's putting people off. So I do get a little wound up about certain things. So we were on that thing last night for 4 hours. One reason is because she can't stay on topic, and that's not her fault, but we end up talking about a lot of things instead of just one thing. So I wish I had more. I probably should have done this when I had everything ready, but I just thought I'd gauge the interest level by just kind of dropping a few things out. But you're the only one watching anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, we'll see what goes on. When I first told people about this stuff, I had people saying, you've got to show this to us. It'll be part of the history and all that sort of thing. And everybody was very excited. Well, 2 years later, after listening to me and reading my stuff, I guess I haven't made a lot of friends. I don't go to look to go start trouble. We all have our opinions, I guess. Yeah, it was okay. I'm glad you liked it. I was happy. It really is trying to steer her down the road sometimes is hard. And God love her, it's not her fault. She's got some pretty bad physical ailments, and they've got her on medication, and it tends to make her foggy and a little bit, lacking in concentration. So she'll start talking about something because a word reminded her of it and kind of go off topic. But I did want to address the mechanics a little bit. So the two things that are hardest to sell to people that I've noticed when I've had an opportunity to talk about my game is the hit chart part, That's the worst. The skills, you get some people go, I don't like skill-based systems. Well, I know. But getting people to understand how the combat works and the hit chart thing is really hard to get them to understand. And then a lot of times they just go, those are the worst idea ever. I probably do. I probably do. I probably follow her around on her topics and stuff like that. I don't want it to be where it sounds like a Punch and Judy show where I'm just always telling her, "All right, let's get back on track," or something like that. So I tend to follow and do that. But no doubt I'm certainly not laser focused anymore either, with my age. But um and mileage. I've consumed a lot in the past. Yeah, sometimes I do get a little bit testy about it. So occasionally it seems like it's a tug of war. There's something she thinks I'm about to say she doesn't want me to say, or some subject she doesn't want me to go down. So she'll keep trying to change the subject to steer me away from it. And I'm trying to make a point about something, so I'm trying to stay on that subject. So we got to do that better. We got to learn to be more synergy. It because it may show through on viewers that we're kind of tugging at each other. Um, but like the simplicity thing. Everything is crunchy and too hard to play, and that's too complicated. And I hear that about everything, and it just becomes so mundane, repetitive, and infuriating. But if I bring it up, she says she gets mad. So she goes, "You don't want to talk about that way." I don't know. So, um, well, and there's the other thing. How much do I show before I've let people see everything, and they just start. I did that once before. I proposed a war game that I was going to make, and I had a guy that just poo pooed everything, told me everything I was doing was wrong, and then proceeded to go and take every idea that I proposed online and do it himself, and made a war game out of it. And I felt like an absolute fucking idiot. So I'm wondering how much um, I'm going to do with that. I don't know. What I wanted to do with the combat is to have people play it. I wanted them to be involved in a medieval knight tourney or a Roman gladiatorial situation where you're not playing a full RPG, but you've got a character that you roll up and you just go and fight. And then people can learn it that way as a demonstration. Yeah, sometimes I wonder. Like I said, I had the guy doing that where he just poo pooed everything and shit. If he didn't go out and make that game with 90% of the stuff that I was talking to him about, I thought I was talking to somebody just about mechanics and hey, this is the best way to use wargaming and all that stuff. And he really was negative on everything I came up with. He wasn't the only one in the conversation, but he was particularly negative. And it was just a smokescreen. He went out and did it. So I thought the best way to do it was to be a referee and put it on screen, and put the copyright type of thing out there and all that, and then just have people play so they could see how it worked by being a player instead of breaking it down and showing too much and all that, where people go, "Oh, yeah, actually, that's a good idea." So I don't know that many will. I see a lot of people hating on hit charts, but you never know. Well, I'll have to pay for copyright. I'll have to but I think demos are the best way to do that sort of stuff. And that way you don't have to put out all your graphics and all your charts, because you can't copyright certain things. You can copyright the presentation. Like I use green highlights and sepia font in my in my rules or something like that, but you really can't copyright rules. So it's a little, most people will spend a lot of time telling you that's bullshit because you don't want people to know that, um, but it's true. I looked it up. I got a lawyer when I had money before I got divorced. I did look into a couple things. I looked into patents and I looked into copyrights because I had something I wanted to make that I wanted to patent as well, um, or if somebody hadn't already come up with it, which in fact they had, but I was going to do that. So, um, so I thought that, like I said, the best thing to do is to have the ternary thing, where people come and they just, all right, I'm here to play. I want to figure out, I want to do this combat system, and I'll run it, and they can go through it that way. I think that might be the best way to do it. So, but I've tried to explain it on in the chat at Bill's live, and he just goes, I used to use those for that, and it's crap, and it's horrible. And I type like so bad, and I'm sitting and slow, and I'm trying. I'm like, well, wait, let me finish what I'm trying to say. And by that time, the subject had moved on. So I kind of was like, nah, but now everybody thinks I'm doing this the wrong way, and he didn't give me a chance, and so I don't blame him, but um, that was some time ago. So, but it's hard to get people to see it because they'll. Well, I used hit charts with this game, and they were shitty. Maybe they were, but I'm doing it a different way, and they never let me get to that. Here's the difference, different way of doing it. So, uh, but I like it that way because then the DM can just go, all they have to say is uh, something like, what are the highlights here? Who attacked? What weapon did they use? Where did they hit? And who did they hit with it? And how hard? So right there, you have basically 5 things that you can construct a brief sentence out to say, here's what happened in the action. Bob swung his sword at the orc and made a deep, serious gash, or I'd use better wording than that, but made a deep gash on his right arm, on the orc's right arm, I should say, or something to that effect. Hopefully more exciting wording than I'm using, but you kind of create the narrative as opposed to the numbers and the calculations. Yeah, what I got is I have Tabletop Simulator, and that's like a 3-dimensional virtual tabletop. It's like digital miniatures. And there's an arena that I have, and somewhere I think I have a like a jousting field or whatever they would call it, with a fence down the center and all that shit. And so I would have people join that, and they make up a character, and they have some money to buy whatever weapon, whatever their choice of weapons, whether it be the Roman thing or the knight thing. We do that. If it's knights, it's the jousting, and then there's the other things, the hand to hand or whatever it is. If it's Roman, it's the gladiatorial thing, and just have them play through and make a tournament out. Whoever, uh, depending on how many people show up. Maybe if there's 6 or 8 people, then you can have 4 pairs, So you have it like a tournament with a box and everything. I can draw that out real easy. I can do that on Word. Who advances? The way to advance is the way is to survive, and then fight the next round and all that stuff until you get two left, and then you have the championships and all that. Just playing that way. That would be what I wanted to do. Yeah, I really one. I think Games Workshop and that old Outrider program that they used to have was fairly effective, where they'd have somebody come in and do a demo, and you'd play the game with their equipment, and they would walk you through how to do it. And then if you liked it, they'd go, well, here it is, and here's the price tag, and you can read up and learn the rest of the rules. And I think that was a good way of selling things. Magenta thinks I should be doing that. She goes, you should have one of those. It should be like Amway for war games, and dudes could have parties, and and the party would be you play the war game, and then afterwards the host would try to sell war game material to the people. And I go, I don't think dudes would be into that, um, but a demo where people get to play live, I think that would work. Right, right. It would be exactly that. Um, or in this case, it would just be player against player, but the combat pretty much works the same. Yeah. So, uh, but yeah, you swing your sword at the. In fact, I did do some of this. What I did was, I didn't do it with people because I couldn't get people to play. So what I did is I took. This is a long time ago. I'd have to go dig it out of the archive of Twitter if it's still there. But I wrote it out. I took two famous, uh, like one was Mad Mardigan from Willow versus Jamie Lannister, and I wrote up a Jamie Lannister like NPC in my RPG, and I did the same for Mad Mardigan, and then I just rolled for each and wrote out a little narrative, who attacks first and what they do and all that sort of thing. If I recall correctly, um, Mad Mardigan won, and then I did one other, and I can't remember who it was, who was fighting who, but it was two other, you know, movie famous characters, something like that. But nobody was looking at it. I mean, whether it be Twitter not allowing it to be, you know, algorithm or whatever the hell it was, but nobody really saw it, so it didn't really matter. Yeah, yeah, and that was it. So I wrote it up, but I put it in posts and stuff like that. So, um, but I think the problem is that I probably didn't have. I don't think I had the blue check at the time. So I didn't have the room to write like every die roll and stuff. I just kind of made a story out of it and did a little bit. So it probably isn't complete enough. You really need to have it be done live. So I might just do it with Magenta and then other people can watch. But it would be neat to have more participants because then it becomes a kind of a tournament and a more exciting thing. Um, that might be neat. Plus, a demo's more effective if you're playing in it as opposed to observing it. But I just thought it'd be a way to kind of sell the combat part of it. So, um, and then I thought as far as domain play or anything like that, some of the other those issues, I thought about doing my Star Wars thing, but that's kind of a selfish thing. I just want to play Star Wars. Maybe it's not even the best. Magenta says that might not be the best use of your time. People don't seem to be very up on Star Wars these days. Maybe you should find something that would be more appealing to a wider audience. Fine. I just want to play Star Wars, man. But uh, we could do something like that too, or I could come up with some other domain play. I thought that might be an interesting thing to show to some people. I've done some solo games with wargaming. I've never really solo played any RPG, but I've done it with wargaming stuff like that. I played with only one person because I couldn't get anybody. I played. I didn't record it though, but I played the Zymax Tower uh, demo with Magenta, and she controlled the whole party because we couldn't get anybody else to play. Um, but that was the play testing that we did. We did it with that, and then we did it with uh, a D and D or a D and D, a D-Day scenario, World War II, because I wanted to see how it would work out with something other than swords and I wanted to see how the modern stuff did, and so we did that. She liked it. I think she was talking about it last night. I don't know if that was after everybody had gone to bed or not, but we discussed it on the live. The D&D thing she played. It was the same deal. There wasn't anybody else that would play, so it was just she was in control of the whole party. But it still worked. Yeah, right. Those motherfuckers. Oh God. I still don't think anybody really knows what everybody says they're doing the Stein, but nobody really knows what the Stein is because the Stein really isn't anything. It's just I try not to say this too much because eventually I'm going to get a larger audience, I would think, and then there's going to be somebody go, "You can't tell me that guy Wesley, he's one of the pioneers and all this." And but I never really thought that was the big leap that people said it was. So, and I don't think he was the first one to do it. Maybe on a tabletop, but the idea of having civilian NPCs in a military exercise, that can't possibly be something that has never been discussed. I know there were civilians at the Louisiana maneuvers, but I can't find any citation that proves that they were part of the exercise. But I'm almost sure that they were. So, but whatever. But yeah, I had a couple people say they play the Zymax Tower thing, which would be fine. That's a fairly short thing. It's designed to be a demo, and I could record it online if I got, 3 or 4 people to play it. It's not super detailed. It's not a campaign. It's just a short little thing. And it's good at demonstrating the whole system because it does have a small uh, war game domain part to it. Not the full thing. You're not building castles or anything like that, but there is some mass battles. So it kind of covers all the bases. If I can get people to do it. So I suppose I can just have Magenta do it again and do it on live or record it or something. Oh, that's my sister Kelly. Hi, Kelly. We're discussing my RPG and the best way to demonstrate it to people on the internet right now. Coming up with some ideas on how to do that. Actual play test. Yeah. So well, I was telling him about Uncle Tony earlier because I had some of the stuff that Uncle Tony gave me from when he worked with TSR. TSR made Dungeons and Dragons, Uncle Tony. So I was telling him about that. I was trying not to get choked up. I was failing. So um, yeah, not the best memory because at the end there, but he did, yeah, yeah. So, but we were talking about him getting, yeah, couldn't do it. But we were talking about it. He used to get me into all the TSR things and the Gen Con and all that. So I pulled out a bunch of material that he had given me, and I was showing it to folks, some of the artwork and things like that. Not all of it yet, but just a part of it. So, but Michael here is invested in the RPG. Kicked me a little help with that monetarily. So and he's been very, very supportive and helpful, trying to get the word out to other people. Unfortunately, social media minefield has made it difficult, but we're working there. We're working with it. So it's great. Me and my co-host there, my friend, our friend, she doesn't like to have her name uttered on the internet. She's a little bit paranoid, but that young lady, yeah, very much so. Absolutely. We all do. So we did a little live last night in the late hours of the evening. Did about 4 hours worth of talk, me and my co-host there, Magenta. Um, so, and now I've got some people to watch it, and I'm going to chop it up into smaller pieces so other people can maybe see the other parts of it. Yeah. Yeah. So got a lot of ideas going. Hopefully we can get something off the ground here. I think we can. I think we're working towards it. So we were thinking about an idea of having like a medieval tourney, like the jousts and that sort of thing, very Arthurian as a setting to teach people the game, to teach the combat, how to fight and what to roll and all those sort of things. So, and doing that live, little miniature stuff on the thing. Yeah. Oh, next TTRPG and TTRPG community, all one word. Those are the best two. Yep. Maybe you'll get more hits than I do with mine. But I put it out too. So I joined a couple more. I joined Blue Sky, and I'm on the one with the pictures, Instagram. That one too. Join that one. I'm so good I can't remember their names. God, there's so many of them. But yeah, I got on those two. All right. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, probably so. Uh, um, yeah, she doesn't do much. I don't know. I don't think she does much social media on Twitter. Twitter's kind of a Wild West thing, but that's okay. So, yeah, I went and saw that I kind of had forgotten, but I had already started putting out some stuff on Blue Sky. I started talking about the one of the campaign settings that I had made for Paracosmic Convergence, and put out some pictures. They were AI pictures, but just to get the vibe and to describe what they were about a little bit, places you could play in. Yeah, yeah, I Griff hasn't blocked me. I just exchanged something with him earlier, but I did push. I says, "Are you listening to me?" Because I responded, and it took about an hour for him to say something back. And he finally goes, I don't have you on block. I am listening to you, um, but apparently everybody else in the thread he unblocked. So, and I'm Holt, we were going to have a conversation. The last time I talked to Tim, it was something about talking to him on live. Um, but then other things get, and Jeffro, well, shit. He was following me for a long time. And then he blocked me, but that's because I didn't like gold for XP. It's kind of a petty thing, really. I don't want to talk to. He doesn't care. You know him. He doesn't. He likes it when people hate him. He's weird. He likes to be J.R. Ewing, but that's why he blocked me. Yeah, yeah. I don't really understand Facebook. I mean, I understand Facebook because it's been around forever, so I know what it is. I don't understand how you grow an account there because there's no retweet or anything like that. So I don't, other than telling people, hey, here's my Facebook channel, I don't know how to get in front of people's eyes. Other than I talked to somebody who paid for advertising. He said he spent $700, um, and he said it was virtually did nothing for him at all. Um, and so he gave up on it. And the only guy I've gotten to follow me so far on Facebook is Rob Kuntz, which is that's a good guy to have following you, but that's it. But I did join several D&D uh, groups, and and I should put my 2 cents in to them. But the thing with those, excuse me, with the hiccups, I kind of lurk first because I want to make sure that it isn't one of these places that just, oh, you don't say what we want you to, so we're going to block you. Um, I'd rather just figure out what kind of energy they got, and then find a way to slip in an advertisement without getting their hackles up about something. Some people are so quick. They'll just like, you look like somebody that would vote for Trump. I Can you see me in there? And they'll do something like that. Or you don't have. They're very quick to tell you why you can't be part of the group. So I like to just spend a little time observing that kind of behavior, and then you kind of know what you need to say to not get booted. But I did join a bunch of them. I did it for Star Wars too. There's one that's local to me, and unfortunately they're not very active. But I was waiting for them to say, tell me when their next meeting was going to be, so I could actually meet some people in person. You can't, all this technology, you can't beat, the old press of the flesh and meeting people in person. I'd love to go down to Milwaukee and do that. Um, that might be helpful. Somewhere, they were somewhere downtown Milwaukee. Yeah, hit Griffin at Braunstein stuff. Like I say, I don't. Technically, you can't copyright a title of a game. It just doesn't make any marketing sense. Like if I made a game and called it Monopoly, that would be silly, you know, as far as a marketing thing. But I don't believe that you can stop people from using a title. But yeah. Um, Anyway, I did get a couple of people to play Star Wars off of the Facebook, but I don't know how to really pimp myself, pardon the phrase, but how to market myself on there other than to say, hey, here's what's going on in my neck of the woods and stuff like that. There's also Discord, and I've joined several of those, like 30 of them. And a lot of them have the what are your projects, or they have the uh, you can advertise a game, And I still thought, just like my dad, you entertain people by playing golf. That's where you talk business and got people to socially meld with you and try and sell something. So I kind of thought running a game, even if I didn't charge, would be a great way to get people. Hey, by the way, I'm making an RPG myself, and kind of starting up a conversation about it as we play the game. So that's why I went and advertised on all those. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Some people just they can only tolerate so many different ways of communication, and some are, you know, I've said some people that just immediately wanted to go to Discord, and then some people that said, "I don't ask me to go there because I can't tolerate that app." Yeah, it's hard, and there's people that just well, and if I mean, you could make the case that I'm one of them, but there are people that are very rapid fire when it comes to disengaging with people on a permanent basis. But there's so many people that just are toxic, and it's just it's easier to go. I can tell that this dude or chick is just going to be no fun. They don't want to talk about business. They don't want to play. They just want to argue, and it's just easier to go. Let's just turn them off and find people that are willing to engage. So the other weird thing is there's a lot of people that are willing to talk, but they have like if you hand them a link to go somewhere else, they don't they won't do it. It's only a click of a mouse, but they just won't do it no matter what. And at that point, I okay, so I'm on Twitter. Now I have 120 some characters to get your attention, and I'm not that clear. I mean, I wish I was a wordsmith enough to find a way to convey a fairly complex idea in a 2 sentence limit, but I can't do it. So it's hard to get their attention. Yeah, well, I want to talk to Joe and Randy about the Big Geek Emporium, and I've got the Giant Slayer guy. Um, so I talked to the Dutchman. I forget his name, Victor, and he was very open about uh, how to deal with those companies that will um, promote your product like Lulu does. Um, and they said this: you either go with drive through RPG or you go with everybody else. Because if you don't go exclusive with drive through RPG, the profit margin is so slim it becomes why bother. They won't pay you as much, or excuse me, they'll take more of a cut if it's not an exclusive deal. So I'd like to try everybody else first, and if they don't perform, then I'd go to drive through RPG as well. Um, yeah, and I mean, I have talked to him too, and he's in. If I understand it right, he's in northern Wisconsin, which is cool. But it's the again part that I was a little bit worried about because it seems like he'll do it for a few months and be into it, and then he'll just fade away, and you won't hear from him for a few months. Mm. So we'll have to see. But I know Joe. I mean, I don't know Joe and Randy personally, but I've been on their live several times, and they seem like they're solid dudes. And I think they're the ones running that Big Geek Emporium, and I thought maybe I'd try them too. But what I want to do is just do it, for like a little while, just a short time, just to see what comes from it. I know that drive through RPGs got more exposure and all that, but they've got that slimmer profit margin. Um, so I thought that was my way of doing it. But I looked it up. Um, yeah, I mean, they seem like straight up just cool dudes. They're real laid back and everything. So I think they would be fun to work with. They wouldn't doesn't look like they're you know would be a hassle or anything like that. Um, the biggest problem, I went to Drive Through RPG. This isn't just because it's Drive Through RPG, just in general. The market, I went and looked it up. There are 320 fantasy RPG rule sets in existence. And that's not the, people like D&D. That's all the independent people on Drive Through RPG. There's 320. Holy socks. I don't, that's a big crowd to compete with. How do you stand out in a crowd that big? Woof. So, and it led me to I started thinking, why are there so many? Is there something missing from all of these that people keep making them, trying to, pardon the expression, hit the spot? But uh, but some people are like, no, it's just one of these things where people can't get enough of it, and they'll take a couple of ideas from something and graft it into some other deal, and it just they buy the rules for the content, not for the play. Okay. Yeah, I have to do the print on demand. Um, I met a guy who didn't. He went and made he did his own aviation book. Me and my brother-in-law, in fact, Kelly's husband, Michael, we went to a place and talked to a guy, and he wrote his own book. Uh, and he didn't. He goes, I wasn't really into the internet so much, and we talked to him for 3 or 4 years, and he still hasn't sold the 500 books that he ordered. He says his wife is about ready to slug him for uh, taking up all the storage space with the spare copies. And Venger's got the same problem. Venger Satanis, these guys with these names, but whatever his real name is, that's part of the problem. He says his wife is on his rear end because he bought all that physical stuff. So I definitely want to do POD. It's just you want to think positive, but you got to give yourself a safety net. You don't want to get stuck with a bunch of material that you can't move. Yeah, yeah, get Jeff Easley to do your cover art. Yeah, that's another big thing, is getting cover art that works. Because I don't know if you saw my video about people in their elf paintings. It was a little terse, but I had people telling me I should be hung and put up against the wall and shot, and I thought that was a little bit excessive. And uh, I don't understand why people don't get, production costs. If I put in uh, some of this handmade art where people want, you know, 12, $15 per picture, and I've got 150 pages, even if that's only 10 images in the whole thing, the price of the book goes from $20.50 to $170.50. Shit, So that changes the whole complexion of the thing. But if I use AI, $20.50, and I can pass that savings on to you. And if it does well, and people are still, have their hackles up about the AI, then next time when I've got some more money in my pocket, I won't have to use it. But you got to let me have it just to, some people are tolerant of it. They'll go, we understand you're up and coming and starving artist type of thing, and we'll let it slide. Some people will tell you that you're Satan for not using, the real art. It's too hard to do. I mean, money money wise. So I had one guy come on and give me that lecture. Came onto a Discord. He told me he wanted to learn how to play war games, and I was going to teach him. And it turned out what really wanted to do was lecture me about AI. It was a little bit a little bit rude, really. So he said, "Well, I understand that you can't afford it." He says, "Here's what I'll do. I'll take half your profits, and I'll illustrate your RPG for you if you split what you make with me 50-50." No, pass. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like a don't ask, don't tell type of thing. Some of these places say that they can determine whether it is. They have software that can do that and all that. Well, okay, we'll see. Um, but I thought about using black ink line drawing. I had some made up, and I showed them to a couple of people, and they didn't think it was AI. They had no idea. It looked great. It was minimalist. I don't, you know, but I like that old school black ink stuff. That was the kind of thing that I was buying back in the day anyway. You know, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was the first time I saw a full color spread in anything. Everything was little pamphlets with mimeographed shit like that. So right, yeah. My dad's a photography hobbyist, so he does that kind of stuff. You might be able to help with that too. But if I can keep the thing consistent, I had it make up about 10 different black ink drawings. And if I can keep it consistent in that style, most people didn't even think it was AI to begin with. And I thought it went well with the kind of old school vibe that I was trying to portray anyway. So I thought I'd just do that. And it would look something more like the old Greyhawk OD&D, with the one line drawing on top of it or on the cover and stuff like that. So it would keep costs down. Not only because I wouldn't have to pay for the art, but because if it's black and white, then I don't have to pay for color. I could have black and white text, black and white pictures. The thing would be cheaper. So that'd be easy. Yeah, yeah, there's ways to do it. It's just half of that high polygon count AI stuff doesn't look right. The fingers are all gashed up, or that you've got an arm that's going inside your side or something like that. But when it did those black and whites with the line drawing, it did them real well. There was only a couple of places that didn't look right, and they were real small and easy to mask. Yeah, I see sometimes being short-sighted. Here's another story that happened. I had a guy come up to me. He was a British guy to come up to me, DM'd me out of the blue and says, "Hey, we read about it. I just saw your paracosmic convergence ad. We'd like to talk to you about that. You know, we'd like to use it." What do you mean use it? Well, maybe publish it or something like that. I said, "Oh." And he said, "I used to work for this. I forget the name of the company, but it's a British miniatures board game and RPG company. They've got a couple of big licenses, but offhand, I can't think of what they were. Anyway, this guy said he had influence with that company, which turned out to be bullshit. And what they wanted is they wanted my uh, rules to be fed into their AI because they were making one of these game specific AIs. And they kept giving me free credits to use it to show me how it worked and to try to sell me on it. And I thought, shit doesn't work. I don't want any part of that. But I just saw a guy or talked to a guy last week who's making something like that, a DM assistant that uses some AI, and it's really neat. And I told him I'd like to have him on the show. He said he'd do it. That's another way to do this stuff. I hate the whole streamer shit and all that, but if you get a show where people are being interviewed about their products, people love that stuff. Like what Bill does. But yeah, I think if I find the right program or whatever, I can illustrate it in that black line drawing and it would work okay. So that's my intention right now. I thought about just having color. I've got a bunch of color stuff that I made for it. Some of it looks okay, but I thought, I don't want to hear it from people. So I'll just do the black and white. And that way I won't have to hear people going, I know that's AI. Don't buy his stuff. It's AI. So works better that way. Um, Plus, there's a lot of it. So the only part that I wonder what I'm going to do about, even when it comes to the black and white art, is the monster part. Because I don't, you can train these things to some degree, but I'm never going to find one that can consistently black and white line draw 300, 400 different types of monsters that I've got. I've got a lot of monsters, and I don't know how I'd ever illustrate them. And I don't see how anybody would be happy with a monster manual that doesn't have illustrations for all the monsters. So that's the tough one for me. The rest of them I can get by, but that one I don't know what to do with as far as illustration. And it's kind of a bummer because it's like, how many times? I mean, we all know what a dragon looks like. There's no matter what I put into this book, there's a lot better pictures of dragons that have been painted. But, so that's the one variable element to me, is what to do with that one. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not. I think I can. I think it'd be easy enough to pass the black and whites you know as non AI. Um, but to have that any of these machines generate that many monster images of two things happen. I don't know how much you use AI, but I've got ChatGTP and I'm paying. I pay the price for it. To get the subscription, and it's a fickle bitch. It just if it if it's at full functionality and it's in a good mood, it does some really neat shit. But there's a lot of times where it doesn't feel like doing it right, and it'll just stop, or it'll start it goes from intelligent to stupid, like it runs out of brain power or something like that, and it'll just start doing things all weird and wrong, like some obstinate child. So um Magenta's tried to do stuff with the Google, whatever the hell they're calling that, Gemini, and she says it's a big pile of steam and dog shit. She can't get the thing to do anything right, especially when it comes to graphics. So, and I tried Bing before that, and Bing wasn't bad, but if you told it to draw you a butter knife, it would say that's against policy. Like, you can't even make the thing kind of act angry, or it'll say you're doing so. It's very, very censorious. So I gave up on it. And um, what's that one? One guy said I should switch to this. I don't know if I should or not. What do they call that? Mid-Journey. The Mid-Journey. He was waking Mid-Journey stuff for a while, but then he stopped. It looked all right. The guy um, that used it, he showed me the stuff that I played D&D with him for a while, and it looked good. But it was I like, you have to pay a lot for it, and I'm so out of money. So I think plus the thing with ChatGTP is that, okay, it's not the greatest artist, but it does all this other shit. Like that whole thing last night. It pumped that a list of 40 mechanics out in 2 seconds. I taught the thing how to make an NPC in West End Games D6. I taught it how to make an NPC in AD&D First Edition. I just asked it to make an NPC in original D&D, and I didn't even have to teach it. It just did it, and it makes a pretty good adventure. It doesn't. It makes a shitty map, but it'll write one out pretty well. So I don't know, but it did do the black and white stuff good. So probably stick with that, and hopefully it'll just do it consistent. But like you say, even if it's not consistent, as long as it's, you can always just say it was done by two different people. That's a good point. Sign different name to it or something. So yeah, but it's one thing to get it to draw a basilisk or a dragon, but to get it to do a will-o-wisp or some of the more rare things that, I don't think it would, it probably wouldn't know what to do with a displacer beast or something like that. So that's what I'm worried about it going, you ask it to do a griffin and it gives you like just an eagle with an alligator tail or something dumb like, because sometimes it'll just go completely stupid and do dumb shit like that. So we'll have to see where it goes from there. I've got everything ready for writing and arranging. I wasn't planning on putting a lot of illustrations in the rule sets, but when it comes to the monster manual part, it's not called monster manual, but that section about the monsters, I just assumed if you didn't illustrate every monster, people would complain. So I wasn't sure what to do with that one. I called it the bestiary. I just wanted to be different, come up with some different names. But it's a tough one. But yeah, I think that we can work with that as far as the illustrations. Otherwise, but the bestiary is a big one. So I have several hundred, but then I also have. I don't want to make any more. I wanted to leave it open for people to make their own. There's a system to make your own monsters. So that way I can say there isn't anything you can't play. You just might have some assembly required. That was what I did with the art with the bestiarian. So we'll see. I'm trying to think what else I got. So the rest is just, there's, like, I could do a hex crawl or a dungeon crawl with the thing and do that solo, and pilot an adventure with 3 or 4 characters I handle myself or whatever, and do that kind of thing. But I don't know if that would be appealing as a live show for people. But I could do that. I got something that's called the Wayfarer system, where if you want to, you can roll up an entire adventure. It's not just a hex crawl or whatever. I've got random charts to just go, what kind of adventure? Here, read it to you. It's really neat, I think. Some people will probably go, oh no, it ruins creativity, but just thought I'd try it. So Let me find the stupid file. It's not long, but it's kind of neat. I'll find it. Mr. Organization. Come on, Mr. Okay, here we go. Um, so where does the character start? So you roll for that. Wilderness, village, town, city, castle, temple. What kind of overarching theme is this going to be? A classic dungeon? Are you taking on some major, big boss baddie uh, uh, villain? Maybe it's in a completely different world, like you're in a alternate dimension or a different plane. Uh, Maybe it's a quest, like the quest to find the magic gauntlet or whatever, or it's some sort of geopolitical situation where you know, this country's at war with this country, and they need you to go do, you know, whatever sabotage or diplomacy or something like that. So then you determine the distance between the start point and where the um, you know objective is, and then you just roll up all the different maps in between, starting with what's the overall terrain: jungle, desert, frozen, sylvan forest, which is kind of a magical elfy forest. I'm sure you know that. Mountainous, hills, volcanic, swamp, savanna, badlands, stuff like that. There's a random quest table. Like some of the random quests you can come up with is visit an oracle, steal an item, sabotage an enemy. You take these and you kind of make something more out of the start point that you get. Anyway, and it just takes you through the whole deal. So you can literally roll up an adventure. So if you don't have enough prep time to make your own, you can just crank one out using that system. That was an idea. And then I've got, hex crawl generators and uh, dungeon generators too, so you can do those. Uh, there's not much that you can't randomly generate should you so desire, but you can also, obviously come up with your own ideas. And probably most people find that more appealing, but just in case you're pressed for time, you can roll the whole thing up. So let's see what else we got. Rumors table, tavern visit encounter table. This is where your average low level adventurer hangs out when not in the dungeon. Flesh it out a little bit, but it's a good starting point. Some sort of encounter in a bar if you want to roll that up for your players. Rules for minor heroes, so you can hire some well-known local, something like that. So those are just some of the ideas. I don't want to get into too much detail for people, um, but I do have all of that as far as rolling things up. I got a hex map generator. Of course, there's really no reason to use. I mean, some people go, "Why would I want a hex map generator when I have AI and stuff like that?" Fair enough, but if you're super anti AI and you're one of these old school people that are like, "I don't use modern accoutrements. I want my," okay, well, here you go. Here's a hex generator that's nothing but analog die rolling. You can, you know, draw it out on your old Chessex hex paper or whatever. So I put that in there too. Let's see what else we got here. The dungeon building is fairly self-explanatory and typical, I suppose. Uh, but you can randomly roll up a dungeon. It's not like AD&D where it's like you got to copy the graphic and then meld it in. It's just here's a 15-foot hallway, you know. So it's done with text. But so those are some of the other features. Anything specific you can think of you're interested in knowing about it, or any other topics to discuss there? What's included with the system? I'm best at Q&A. Anybody else? I see there's a few other people watching. Anything questions you have, or comments or interests? Feel free. No, nothing. Okay. All righty. Well, we'll just keep on going on then. Get on GTP and pick the O1 previous second option. It's a late. Oh yeah, I've got it. Oh, I forgot I can do this. Yep. Oh, I wasn't aware of what that is. Yeah. You want to read it? I know. I gotta stop talking and start doing. Um, but yeah, uh, we'll just use the ink drawings and get going on a thing and do that. Let's make sure I got that. You're right. Let's make sure. Uh, yeah, I haven't tried that canvas thing yet. Maybe I should try that. So, but yeah, it works pretty good so far. I lost it when they did the upgrade. I lost some of my old 3.5 stuff though, and I was a little bit upset by that. But it's my fault. I should have taken the time out of my day to archive it. I had the thing humming with my Star Wars campaign. It was really, you know, the more you use it for one particular subject matter, the more honed and it gets on it. And I had that thing. It had it fully grasped uh, the storyline, and it was just like it was really great at making stuff for that. One thing it is or was when it came to NPCs, it tended to heavily bias females, and if that doesn't bother people, fine. In some situations, it caused a little bit of a headache for me, and I had to keep asking it to make the males that I needed for certain things. But other than that, it would crank out a character with the West End game stat block, uh, with proper West End games weaponry, and a backstory that fit inside the campaign I was doing without even having to massage it. It was on point. It was great. and then they upgraded it, and that shit all got deleted. Yeah, I there's this guy Diane Place, and he's about my age and a role player. I played some D&D with him in the past, and he's an Army veteran and all that. And he got showing people he was arguing with it, political points, just like debating it, just to see. And then, Jesus. So, um, so I live near, or well, I don't now, but I at the time I lived near one of the riot cities called Kenosha, Wisconsin. It was it was pretty bad what happened there. If you're not familiar, and I asked the thing. I don't want to get too political with people, but it was wild because I asked the thing, about the damage and what happened there, and the story it told. It was surreal because I was like, "That's not at all what happened. It's not about politics. You just don't have the. You just aren't right." And I told it so, and it got real condescending. Well, I'm sure you think that's the way it really happened, but I'm telling you, it really didn't happen that way. I argue. I ended up, and I said, I found myself. I go, I'm arguing with this damn machine. That guy got me to argue with this, and I felt like an idiot for going back and forth. But I went back and forth with it a couple of times, and it was not going to it was not going to be factual about that situation, no matter what you did. And when you told it it was wrong, it would it wouldn't call you a conspiracy theorist or a fascist, but it would say, well, I'm sure you're thinking emotionally, but factually, that's not the way it happened. It was really condescending. So I went back to telling it to play games. So, but it's good at that. Although the thing it made up last night for our mechanics thing, it wasn't very accurate. A lot of it was wrong, but good enough. I, I at the end of it, I did use some foul language just to see what it would say about that, and it didn't do anything. Although my friend's phone, if it hears you swear, I don't know if he says I didn't tell it to do this, but the if it hears you swear, it'll tell you that you shouldn't say that kind of thing. Like it was really. We were sitting having lunch, and he had the thing sitting there, and he had forgot to close the face or whatever, and I said fuck or whatever, and this thing spoke up. Well, you shouldn't be using that kind of language in public. It won't look good for you know. Ay, ay, ay. These things are just they're terrifying. So, but anyway, yeah, it writes a good stat block. Yeah, my my ex-wife had all the uh, Alexa things. I hated that shit. I told her no, and she wouldn't listen. She plugged them in, and it took her 2 years before she would admit and realize that that thing was recording everything that we said, or at least hearing it. Oh, I hate those things so fucking much. No, no, I mean, I'm I'm a I made a couple of war game assists in VB 6 and VB uh, was it .net or whatever years years ago, but that was it. And I did that by just self learning and copying some stuff and then rearranging it, which is what I always did. When I had my Coco computer when I was, a younger, I did the same deal. I kind of rearranged a what was it a a black or Hangman. It was Hangman, the old game Hangman. I rearranged that or took portions of it and using the old linear color basic, I wrote out a D&D assistant. So that's all I can do with it. So um, I wish I would have spent more time doing that. Stay in school, kids. Had I kept my nose to the grindstone to learn that stuff, I wouldn't be begging people for money. Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I tried making a war game assistant GW basic once. That's like, so. Um, in fact, I have some stuff in that. I tried to get. I tried to find somewhere. I should bring it out again because I think I probably have the AI might be able to convert it. I tried to find something that could convert this old. I didn't write it, but some guy gave it to me. It was a war game assist. I wonder if I gave that to the AI, they could translate that into something modern that I could use. Anyway, but yeah, I don't do anything like that. I wish I did. I could probably, just go ahead and make my own AI, and I see more and more people doing it. It'd be nice. What did I just download? I downloaded something. What the hell was that? A Python program. I forgot that I just downloaded that some guy wrote that was supposed to be really helpful. But my old ass can't even remember what the hell it was for now. Something game related. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did have it. I mean, it's written up a couple of Excel sheets for me. I just said, "Here's what I want done," and it did it. It was about 90% correct. I had to go in there and do a couple of things, but for the most part, it was a functional spreadsheet thing. I was like, I know Excel very well, but it's still just because I type like it would have taken me a lot longer. The thing sure saved me a lot of time. It's incredible. Uh, I don't know. I still think that this computer stuff, will eventually just overtake tabletop completely. People will just go, "Why even do it?" You can, I don't know. Maybe it won't. I remember they came out with uh, Surface computers that were meant to play. It was a French thing. This was like 10 or so years ago that they had made this thing, and it had a special uh, stand that you put on a miniature or a paw or like a pawn or something like that, and you moved it around, and the Surface tablet sensed it and could identify it, near field communication or something, and you could have you had them interact. They even had one where it was a toy soldier shooting another toy soldier on the Surface thing, and they were going to sell it to people as a game platform, and then it just evaporated. Never heard anything more about it, and now no one's using that stuff. But for a while, that was supposed to be the next evolution in tabletop gaming was a Surface computer screen. Yeah, yeah, and you could put in, or what happened, they said, is, well, we were going to sell it to the public, but then we had this company license the product for use in their stuff, so we went that direction. But I never saw where it went. I saw some people. I've seen guys make custom uh, Surface computers out of flat screen TVs, and that was pretty neat. Um, but I never really saw a large product for these games that way. But that happens before. I remember the video phone. AT&T came out with a video phone in like 1983 or 84, and nobody wanted it. why the hell would I want to look at somebody I'm talking on the phone with? That was what everybody said. And they were ready to put an infrastructure in to handle these things being the new way that you do, conference calling and business communication. Nobody gave a shit. Yeah, it's really weird. Just didn't do well in the marketplace. I've seen a couple of the units work. They work pretty well. The screen's real small, but other than that, and so maybe that Surface thing is the same way. People just weren't ready for it or whatever. But sometimes I just think, eventually the way people are with patience and lack of it, that this thing will stop. But they said that about AI. What do you call it? Not artificial, not virtual reality, but the augmented reality. That was supposed to be a big thing, and it never really took off. I saw two board games with AI, that AR on it, and both times it flopped badly. Like one guy said, he goes, "Why the hell would I want to look through goggles to play a board game? Everything's still going on at a board that I have to stare at, but now I have to put these unwieldy goggles in, and I have to do all this dumb shit to move my stuff. If I take the goggles off and use real miniatures, it's a lot easier." So that's why that shit went by the wayside. Well, either way, I've always used computers stuff, so I like the idea of this AI being able to make up an app that can help me play a tabletop game. I don't really need an electronic Surface tablet, but I instead of taking games and watering the mechanics down because they seem too complicated or unwieldy or take, I wanted to use a computer to handle the rules. And so I always did that. The first thing I had was a Tandy 600 laptop. It's 11 pounds, fucking behemoth with an LCD uh, screen on it that was like ticker tape. When it was this giant rectangle screen that wasn't very big and it was hard to see and all that, but it had spreadsheet, word processor, and database on it. And it also had forms made. A 3.5 was one of the first computers I ever saw with a 3.5 drive in it. And uh, I bought a forms maker that ran on it, and I could make my own character sheets and print them on dot matrix. I could track casualties or how many arrows I fired or whatever. I learned how to use spreadsheet language so that I could play, Roll Master and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons instead of having to go buy some watered down version of it because nobody wants to count arrows or whatever. That was my solution to complex. But now everybody just wants to do super simple. I thought playing with a computer was funner. But I never played computer games until I ran out of people to play tabletop games with. It was just a stopgap measure. I still preferred to go on the table. There's more to it. It was more interesting. It it had more range. If you play D&D on an SSI, those old gold box, they were fine. If you had nothing better to do, nobody to play with. But it wasn't like sitting down with a custom campaign and 5 or 6 or more guys and playing and maybe smoking a little something, something and partying and all that we used to do with it. So, but anyway, but yeah. So, yeah, I get it. I just want to read the manual. I'll get you I got to do that. I'm, uh, I've written it out. The hurdle was two things: just life getting in the way, And what do I do about the illustration? But I think I've got that. I'll just, like I said, I'll just do the ink drawing stuff and leave it at that. So, and then there's the cover. Oh, the formatting was the big deal. To use Lulu, there's a whole thing about formatting. So, I decided I was just going to go with it anyway, though, and not go with anything else. Just learn the Lulu stuff, because I found out people are like, well, if you know how to do it in Lulu, then you know how to do it for drive-through RPG. They're not really any different. So that relieved me, because I thought I was going to have to learn like electronic typesetting for each one of these companies, but they're largely the same. So I thought I would have to have a larger learning curve to publish, but I guess it's not as bad. Still kind of hard, but I'll get there. I looked into paying people, but they want 110. Yeah, it's patience. I might use it. The guy wanted $110 though. So to do the book, to format the book for Lulu, and that's why I was like, well, I'm going to need the money. So that then you help me out with that. So that's what I'll probably do, is have him do it, so it looks good. The whole thing with arrangement never. I must be weird, because that doesn't bother me. I didn't care that psionics was in a chapter in the back of the book instead of the front of the book, but some people seem to be they really want a particular layout and stuff. So having somebody help me with that was another hurdle. So I can get that done now too, and then get it off to profits. So the last question that was, as far as production was, do I put everything in one book or not? Because there's do you want a separate Dungeon Master's book, a separate player's book, a separate monster book, and all that? And most people said yes. Okay, it makes it more expensive, but okay. So I have to pay for, if I'm going to have a service do it so it looks nice and clean and professional, I have to pay that service per book. Or I can have one book and pay the service once. One of the things that people said they didn't like about having the book all in one volume was, well, what happens is players bring the DM material to the table and read it. Don't let them. But I also want to say this, and I didn't mean it to be flippant or anything, but if they buy it, they're going to read it no matter what, but what people were saying is, well, I didn't want them to cheat and look at the numbers at the table while they're playing. Okay, so 7 books it is. So that's where I'm at with it. So I figure player manual is what you're looking for. I imagine you want to do the player manual. Sorry, I ran out of breath there for a second. Right. And that sounds like, I mean, that's a good idea. And I thought of it too. But then you've got, there's nobody that does boxes. If you want boxes done, you have to go to a completely different company. So then what I'm doing is I'm a company that doesn't do book printing. So then I would have to have the book printed. I would have to have a physical copy sent to me or to them. They would have to assemble it I would have to pay labor to assemble it, add that to the cost, and then figure out if that end company would drop ship it. And if they wouldn't, I'd have to send it back to the original company for drop shipping. And it becomes an expensive logistical nightmare. I can't believe how much of that kind of thing happens. When I work with my dad's in manufacturing, or was I used to retire, but he was in plastics and machine manufacturing, and I was kind of boggled by how many times sections of something were traveled across this country, hundreds of miles in some cases, just to be assembled and ships. The lack of consolidation um, really adds to logistical issues and gas expenditures and stuff like that. I was like, wow. Um, so that's the only reason something like that wouldn't work. To me, you don't tell a customer, well, hey, don't do that then, really. But to me, it just seems like if if you think you're going to play with a cheater, maybe you shouldn't play with that person. But it's really not, you know. Um, but I think it would be nicer to have something in one giant um, glossy book. That I had a system where I could color code each chapter so that you knew you were in the player section, and it'd be really great for reference and stuff like that. It would keep the cost down. It would look like a nice thick volume too. But I had a lot of people go, no, no, no. There's too much opportunity for people to cheat and sneak and look at other things that they shouldn't look at. Okay, yeah, yeah. The OD&D, that's what they did. The BX, those were the boxes that Tony made. So, yep. The inspiration, thy inspiration. Hello, thank you for showing up. How are you today? I am saying that word right. I need my glasses upgraded, so I just want to verify. Okay, I am doing it right. So, thanks for joining in. Just kind of a chill stream talking about book production, hanging out, being low key. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I separate books are okay. It, it just it makes it a longer process and a more expensive one. Uh, that's really all it. But here's what I've noticed: it's when it comes to gaming and gamers, the majority of them don't care. They don't. They'd rather pay more and have it looking all fancy and all that sort of stuff. I don't. I mean, I wasn't a super poor boy or anything like that, but I always looked for the cheap way to get at something. I wasn't. I could pay uh, buco money for advanced squad leader and have to buy module after module after module, or I could go to the friendly neighborhood game store down the street and buy my buddy Gary's version of it, which was a $12 pamphlet that had all the information I needed to play, all the stuff that, but it wasn't pretty. It was just a black and white typed out book with a mimeographed uh, one picture cover. I'm talking like this is like 1983, but I didn't care because the fun was on the table. What the book looked like was that was the instruction manual. Who cares? I was going to paint a bunch of cool miniatures and stuff like that, and that was going to look neat at the table. And I saved myself a lot of money. But these days, people that are into hobby, they seem to want that stuff that looks like it's got high production value. Okay, so um, the question becomes: start with with the player manual, or start with the dungeon manual, or just do those two first, and then later on put out the monster manual and all that stuff, because and include a little bit of everything so that you've got some starting point to play with. So another idea I had was is making a full volume set with everything in it that included and not included in the book, but also make a kind of starter kit that was, here's the beginner module, the Zymax Tower module, and everything you need to play as both the DM and the player. And of course, people there again will say, well, the player can see the DM stuff. It's a starting point. It doesn't, let's not get too fussy. And it just would be a quick way to buy like a starter kit, and then decide if you want to go further. Hopefully you do. And then you would get the full volume set. I don't know that dancing around the complaint that some players might peak is worth the extra expense and time that it would take, though. I don't know. I think that might be too minor a complaint to really engage with. And like you say, Osric did do the whole thing like that too. So, and it was, when it was people, when you look at people that give their opinions, thank goodness they do. It's great to have feedback, but it's never a sample size large enough that you should really go, well, then I definitely better take that choice. I mean, I don't want to make people sound like they're insignificant, but everybody's not, we're all humans and such, but all that. But if 6 people out of the industry say they prefer a full volume set or not, or prefer separate books, how many didn't even see your question to give you an opinion, So I don't know if basing everything on that is a good idea or not, but that's why I thought maybe the starter kit was a good compromise. I'm just looking at Osric now just to refamiliarize myself with it. That's absolutely what I had in mind as far as looking at the table of contents, is doing it like the way they're doing it, and then having it like a player supplement that could be downloaded. Yeah, that's another option. Is just go, hey, this is where we got to start, and if you really like it and you want to do that, then they're right. That might be the better way to do it too. Then hopefully you've got a little bit more money to work with, and people know who you are, and the product's already out there, and they'll be looking at the site, and they can look at that. Yeah. Yep. I think that might be the way to do it. It does solve a lot of problems. It makes the thing come out faster and things like that. Yeah. It's going to be a thick little booger, but that's all right. That'll look cool. Look at this, I mean, some people might look at it and go, wow, that must be complicated. Look at all that stuff. But I think a lot of people looking at, wow, look at all that content right in one book. That's the way I look at it. Nice and hefty like the old days. Yeah, right. Yeah, a little primer PDF. Yeah. I that was what I was thinking too. Yeah. And then the DM buys the big one for now. sends his players to the link to get the PDF. And then down the road, if it, you can start offering the whole thing as a set of the 7 books. Right, the thicker the better. Yeah. But yeah, um, it would look good. And then put it in that glossy finish cover, the nice binding, and the heavy pages. Keep the artwork black and white so it looks old school. Maybe a color cover. I have a it's totally AI and everybody would know it. But like you say, maybe you can wash it through Photoshop and make it look a little bit, more humanized or whatever. But it's a cool shot. It's one of the best things my AI ever did. It's a dragon over a castle in a kind of this dark mountainous valley with magic fire and stuff going on around it, and there's people down below ready to fight the dragon. It's a pretty epic looking shot, and I thought I'd put that on the cover. I thought it did it justice. But the rest of it on the inside, I thought I'd just keep it black and white. I forgot I got to hit a button. Okay, there we go. You got to learn all the bells and whistles. So, but yeah, I think that's the I want to get what I really want to do is I think that would be funny and it wouldn't be too abrasive, but everybody would get a chuckle. Is if I could find one, is get a Captain Crunch t-shirt and then color in the word crunch for emphasis. I got your simplicity hanging. And then that'd be like my little bio. And do or with a little notation under it saying, "Do you even thaco, bro?" Oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that's I really do like that the best is giving it a is is a good one manual. Get the information out there, um, and then hopefully it takes off and you can get a high quality set of books for people who like it that way as a second run. I think that'd be the best way to do it. I do. Well, I don't know if I should add it in there, but I almost would be tempted to be like, the best way to prevent cheating is to don't invite the cheater to the table. But that might be a little bit much. But I do have a section for DM advice, and because I like to be the thrifty gamer. Some of it is here's how you can make stuff for free instead of paying a bunch of money for it. I remember the first time I asked for character sheets. I asked for the Goldenrod character sheets for Christmas, and I got them. But my dad, Jesus Christ, $8.50 for sheets of paper. What are you going to keep those? What are you going to do? Are you going to frame them? I said, no, I'm going to use them for a while and I'll probably rip them up and throw them out. My God, I paid $8.50. He was pissed. So I got that for Christmas, the Goldenrod sheets. But I always thought, do you really need to? He's got a point. I mean, a Steto notepad works just as good. So same with DM screens and stuff like that. So I put something in there on just here's how you can make a DM screen on your own. And some people said, you're killing yourself out of potential revenue. And I don't think so, because there's a lot of people who look at that and go, no, that looks chintzy no matter what. So, but for those folks that just don't, they can't be throwing money at stuff every other week. It's kind of neat to have a couple of artsy fartsy crafty type of ways to get that material without having to pay uh, printer's cost for it. So I put that in there along with here's how here's some ideas on how to DM the right way or whatever. Really not the right way. I don't want to. It doesn't really sound like a Jeffro discussion. Just some helpful hints and stuff like that. And then there's an intro. I shouldn't say intro, but there's a basic set, which isn't really even the same game. It's just this one. Like if you have somebody that you'd like to get into RPGs, but they keep talking about, well, there's a lot of books, there's a lot to read. I made this stepping stone one sheet intro thing so that they can play it, and all they have to do is read 1 8.5 by 11. It's a lot. It's a little mini game, really. It doesn't have very many features, but it's a way to get them hooked without making them, do a lot of homework. So I put that in there too. So you have that along with all the rules and stuff. Little extra. So yep. So I do, and so I'll take it. I'll send it off to the guy as a 1-volume set. I'm going to run it through grammar and spell checker one more time because I'm so atrocious at typing and stuff like that. And make sure that it's numbered right. The guy who's going to do it for me is Argentinian. So he speaks very good English, but he's Argentinian. So I want to make sure that everything's, as far as grammar and all that, is as good as it can be. Because he says, I don't do that, bro. I'm not going to correct your spelling and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure I got that all cleared up and I haven't overlooked something. And then I'll send it off to him. He says he's got about a 2 to 4 day turnaround. And then it will go off to Lulu. And I don't remember what they said their turnaround date is. 8 to 10 days, I think it is. They put you in a queue, with the printing. So, and I'm going to order. I'll get you your book. I'm going to get a book, of course. Magenta's going to get a book. And then we'll go from there. And that way I can always just, I can hold it up, buy my shit and play with it and stuff like that on the live. And that's what we'll do. We'll start doing live playing of it, me and Magenta, things like that, to try to push it a little farther and get it off the ground and get people seeing it. Yeah, like a fold up. You used to get that with D&D. There was a lot of stuff in the D&D. I got like Battle System had those. They were like you punched them out and then you put them together and they made these little like paper 3-dimensional huts and shit like that. Yeah. I have some of that stuff in there, just ways to make that stuff without having to pay a big bunch of money. But yeah, that's what we'll do. So that'll round out the whole storyline and we'll get it out there. And like I said, I think it's 8 to 10 days with Lulu. And then from there, I'll start shopping it around at maybe Drive Through or Biggest Geekus or whatever, and see what we can get with those guys. That may be. There's a couple other things too. There's a guy called. Well, I mean, I assume it's a guy. I always say guy, and I don't even know if it's a person, female or whatever. But there's an account uh, called Little Game Helper, and they've got a website, and they'll feature your stuff for free. They keep all the ad revenue from the traffic they get on their site. That's their fee. Um, so I'll submit it to that place too, and maybe it'll get some exposure there. And I do have. I don't have the money to pay for the blue check, but I'm thinking to myself, what do I really need the blue check for other than to be able to proofread my shitty typing? But I do have a spare um, Twitter account that I can change to just being a straight promotional thing for the product. So I can set that up, change it around. It's one of the Twitter gets weird when you change that stuff. Like it doesn't want you to, So I'm going to change it and I'll wait a couple of days. Then I'll start posting on it to make sure it doesn't give me any grief about it. So last time I did it on my account, they wanted my password and everything. So I want to make sure I do it right so I don't get locked out of it. But I'll have the AI make up some sort of avatar that says paracosmic convergence on it and all that. Put that on that account. I'm not using it for anything else anyway. I was gonna, but didn't work out. So I'll show you that one, and then I can just put all the paracosmic convergence stuff on that. So, but I still think the best way to sell it is to play it as much as possible on live or record it and put it up on the internet so people can see it play. Even if they don't like watching it, they might watch 5 minutes, go, okay, well, what game is this? I want to learn more about the game. And then you can send them there. Okay. It's a great way to do that. You see people that are playing a game, laughing, that kind of thing. They get Chrome just bro. Jesus. Thank you. That'll help. Well, now we can do either way. Wow, man. Yeah, I'll get that out to you as soon as I can. Jesus, you're making me nervous giving me a thank you. Well, that's amazingly generous. Now I'll get the thing out as soon as possible, and geez, God, we can take care of everything with that. Wow, really appreciate it. Shit. Thank you. Yeah, we'll handle it. We'll get her out there as soon as possible. But that's my plan. Play, post, print, and just see where it goes from there. Maybe I'll eventually find somebody who's willing to talk to me online as opposed to say, fuck that guy. God Lord. No, it's not. Editing is not free. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah. So it's all about finding somebody who will have a chat with you. I was kind of hoping Bill would do it, but he's never offered, and I don't know. So that's okay. I don't want to be pushy, but maybe we'll find some people that want to talk. There's a couple other folks that I could hit up on my end that I might be able to get I don't want to invite myself onto somebody's thing, but there's a gal called Janet from Another Planet, and and I, I might be able to finagle something with her. Her co-host likes me pretty much. Um, I've been on a live with her before, so she knows who I am. Like she's seen the face. Um, and then there's this guy. Oh, you know Bear. We were talking about Bear before. I thought I'd see if I could get up in time for Bear's early morning coffee once in a while and talk to him and Sean and that elf bait guy. Um, him and Sean are amiable to me, and the elf bait guy's okay. Um, I don't he doesn't hate me, but he doesn't he just seems kind of terse, but just maybe the way he is. But but I thought maybe if I could jump on with those dudes. I don't know if Bear's doing that anymore. Though. So hopefully he is. There was one guy that he kept letting on his lives, and that guy kept telling pretty awful jokes. And Bear was getting mad that YouTube, he said, you do this stuff and YouTube will ban me, for those off color jokes. And so he might have turned that off so people don't do that to him anymore. He was letting about anybody on. But I'd see if I could get on there to promote myself a little bit more. You think so? You know, I, I'll try to. Um, I'll see if Bear has the open mic thing. Uh, there's another guy that might, even though I put him on that guy I told you about it. I really felt bad. I asked the guy, he says, that dying breed fella. I said, you know, would you what do you think? Is the lighting right and all that? And he started ripping on my nose hair and stuff. And I, I, I was like, I don't really need this. I wasn't in a very good place to start with, so I really didn't need that kind of talk right now. So I kind of got mad, probably more than I mean, I didn't swear or yell or anything like that, but I made me feel shitty. But I feel like a big wussy saying that. Uh, but he might talk. He said he was about to. Well, you're the one that retweeted it. Why am I telling you? He said he was going to start his own thing up. Maybe he'll say something. I don't think he has any problem with me. He kind of apologized for it, but I thought, why did you even do that? But so there's him. I suppose I could try advertising with that Polish gal, uh, the elf maid gal, and put she's got that print magazine. I think it's only $10. I could do that too. Yeah, that's it. When you've got that's another thing. I was telling Bear about it, but it was all, well, it's on its way and it's in production and all that. Certainly it changes the complexion of things when you can point to the book, no doubt there. So, but yeah, I think I could try, if she still got room, I could slap down the 10 for the print with her. So, I Rob Kuntz said he'd play with me. I don't know if that offer still stands, but if he plays with me, I would certainly not during his game. I wouldn't be that uncouth, but certainly during the viewing of the game, because I know I get a lot of viewers for people to watch. Right? If you're Kelly, Rob Kuntz is one of the originators of D&D. He's extremely famous. And if he were to play a game with me, it would attract a lot of people to watch, and I would certainly use that opportunity to promote the game, my game, after playing the game with him. So um, he had told me about 11 months ago that he would do it. Yeah, it would be great. It would be great. He said that he believes he remembers Tony, and I'm sure he does, because they were both, you know, true Wisconsinites. Rob's actually from the Twin Cities, but he spent most of his time in Eau Claire and Lake Geneva and stuff like that. So they like the social aspects of small town Wisconsin, both a lot. So I think they spent some time over a couple of beers. So he said he remembered Tony. So, but that would be neat to play that. Yeah, yeah. He said uh, I showed him a picture of him and of Tony and Catherine, and he goes, "Yeah, I think I've been with that guy before." So, yeah. So that was cool. Um, hopefully he'll play. That would really draw the attention to me. Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, and then he says to me, he goes, I believe that he says he was a salesman, right? And I says, yeah, that's I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's the word. I don't know if that's the official title. He says, well, I had one drive me from Elkhorn, Wisconsin to Lake Geneva one time, and he was a salesman looking to call on TSR, and I said, I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but I says it's as likely as not that it might have been Tony. And he says, and I showed him a picture. He goes, yeah, I think I remember him hanging out with him. I says that sounds like Tony. Loves the corner taverns. Yeah, so that was neat. So Michael says, okay, okay, Kyle, yeah, yeah. I it just seems like I wanted an idea on the quality of my stream, not to get dressed down by a guy like my dad would that I hadn't shaved properly. But the thing was, is I just had a very bad breakup, and I was kind of in the. I probably he wasn't completely raw. I turned on the camera when I should have probably spruced up a little bit, but I was bummed, and I was in a place alone, and I just wanted to hang out on the stream a little bit because I didn't have any social activity where I was. So and to get clubbed about that, it stung more than it should have. So, but he did apologize. So I wouldn't mind working that out and talking with him and stuff like that. Yeah, I still got Alvin Mate on the list. I can see if she's got room in her little magazine for that. I know I was feeling like, man, I just wanted to know if my lighting was good. I didn't want to hear about my beard, but yeah. So, but yeah, I'll talk with him. He doesn't. He seemed to be the more sensible one out of him and that other fella that he was with. But anyway, who am I to judge? So, sure, that'll work. Um, get some things going. But with some of these other people that I had, like who was it? Oh, the Patty guy. I listened to that, and those guys were just. I mean, they were. eh, I that was a little bit much. So I'm not into that, but I can't think of whoever else it was that was a problem as far as getting onto the shows. Um, uh, there's that Ultra TTP RPG guy, um, and he was following me, but that it was that. Uh, well, he really got it was the Jim Jones thing that got him going, and I don't know about that. I see. I don't even know if he's got a show, but I could do him too if he's got a show. I think I could work that out. Um, yeah, it seems so in the one that I watched. I only watched one show, and and the other individual, I forget his name, wasn't very classy, um, But that Ultra TTRPG guy, I guess I could work with him. Um, the Jim Jones thing was sort of funny. I made a comment about Jim Jones, and the guy, instead of being insulted, he embraced it and started making T-shirts with Jim Jones on it. I wouldn't go wearing those around town, but whatever. Yeah, I just ooh. The dude actually made a T-shirt with Jim Jones on it that said "Classic Gaming." Wow. Um, that's it. Patty was the Patty, and I mean, I didn't have any problem with Patty. He was actually very nice and somewhat encouraging at first, but then he started with these DM things, and it just seemed a little bit like I don't know. I wasn't really sure where that was going, and I said, I don't know exactly why these are just just tweets about games. I don't know why they're making you so mad, but you're under no obligation to read them if they make you that mad. And then he blocked me. I think it was a fairly reasonable response. So, but that stuff they were saying about me wasn't very nice. I don't want to. I understand that you can't let pride get in the way of sales to a degree, but there's no reason that you should let yourself be degraded simply to you know what I mean? Even people desperate for money have some dignity to preserve. So I think I'll pass on that guy, but everything else. Um, you see, he took it even further. Now he's calling himself that. Um, he, that was a comment I made to him, so he embraced it and went with it for sure. Yeah, yeah. He was just he sent me, and it wasn't once or twice. This went on for a couple of days, where every time he read something I wrote, he was in the DMs, and I really wasn't even sure what the issue was. Um, I know if I remember right, I believe he's a serviceman, and he had seen some combat. So I I didn't want to, you know, be insensitive if that, sometimes tempers, but I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here. They weren't even addressed to him. They were just things that I was posting, and so it was a little weird. I think I'll take a pass. Um, can't think of anybody else. Oh, the Imholt thing. Yeah. Um, that was that was yeah. There's guys that you can pay to review. If I yeah might look into that. I know whom they are because I remember them from the Shadow Dark issue. The thing with Imholt was this: is that y- opinions are what they. Everybody's entitled to an opinion, and he broad brushed everybody with a particular opinion, and this isn't even a political thing. It was just an opinion about a dumb game as being some sort of hateful maniac for having that opinion. And I I thought, okay, buddy, that's all right then. If you believe that of people, then it is probably in your best interest and everybody's best interest to separate. There's no reason to continue a conversation if you think you're talking, somebody of that nature. So I just cut it off there. So, but yeah, he wanted to do a 45-minute convo before that little episode came down, and okay, I think we could probably work that out. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think you can't let everything be a thing. but she kind of irked me too. But so I think I would kind of get a little bit of a. To me, I think talking to her would be more of an interrogation than an interview. But again, you can't just turn everything down. So I think maybe I could stomach it, but she doesn't make me smile. That's for sure. So her responses to some of my statements were over the top, but in my opinion, so that's all right though. People, there geeks tend to be a little bit snip, you know. I remember walking up to a guy to ask a question, and before I even uttered the question, the guy yelled at the top of his voice, "No," and then answered a bunch of other questions that I hadn't intended to ask. And I looked at him in shock. And the guy told me to go away before I even could tell him, what the hell's wrong with you? So sometimes you just get some people that you can't be reasonable with, but uh, she wasn't that bad, but she was kind of condescending. Well, there you go. Um, she's the she's the dragon poop people. Well, her and that TBE. When I talked about internal consistency in world creation, she says nobody wants to know where the dragon poops. So they're the king of those brosser folks. They're always very good at trying to look like they have an intellectual argument when what they really have is a lot of logical fallacies and stuff like that. But we can work with it. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I think that covers about everybody except, like I said, the Patty thing I just can't do. But everybody else, I think I can swallow it and tolerate it. Um, it's not like it's Jeffro. Let's make Magenta do the do the harmony one. Oh, good lord! I think I'd lose a friend if I put her in front of that one. But I would, if she has time, and I think she would be excited to come on and help too, and that might help a little bit because she does tend to be a little bit more diplomatic and well reasoned. Not that I intend on causing a scene on anybody's stream or something like that, but um, I think the harmony one would be interesting, though. I don't know, but the thing is that she's got a pretty odd schedule. Um, she's got Saturday after 10, Sunday as long as she doesn't have grandkids, and then Monday basically before 10 that she can do stuff. The rest of the time she's working. But if the schedule works out, I think she might be into doing it. Yeah. I, you know, the thing, I don't think Bill likes me. I think I I try to engage. Um, I go to some of his lives and I cut up and stuff like that, but I'm not flippant or disrespectful or anything like that. I'm just kind of silly and stuff like that. But I don't think he likes it. So I kind of stopped doing that. Um, but I just kind of got a vibe that he wasn't amused or interested in that sort of stuff. And it's one of those deals where some people, if you have a different gaming philosophy, they don't, you know, a lot of people say, well, I'm not about that. You can have whatever philosophy you want. But in the back of their mind, it's different. And I didn't get angry about it, but I always just kind of go, oh, Jesus, here we go with the complexity thing again. Because he had to bring that up on every little deal. I didn't browbeat him. He's never mean to me. He does respond to my stuff. So it might just be something that I'm sensing that really isn't there. Sometimes I'm a little bit self-conscious, but I would do it. He did say something about bringing that artwork of Tony's on here that he'd like to look at it and talk about that. Um, so, but somehow I just don't think I'm his favorite guy. But I'll do it. I got nothing wrong with Bill. I think that would be neat. He's another TSR guy, and I think, the more time I can spend talking to TSR guys, the better it is. That you know, yeah. I try. I don't type well, and I type slow, and I'm always trying to keep up with the conversation, and I'm not good at it. I took typing was an elective. I took it twice, and in both instances it was just a second study hall. I I didn't figure I'd need it. It's a stupid attitude, stay in school, kids, and all that sort of stuff. But that's the reality of it. And so I type like I'm running my finger across the keys instead of actually typing. Maybe my sense of humor and the little jabs that I make don't come off as they're they're not ill intended, and they're just for fun. But maybe somebody's taking them as being something that they're not, taking them personal. Um, Not meant to be, but I can see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, yeah, he did say that. And I brought it up to Bill. I says, "Hey, man, I'm just cutting up here. I'm just teasing." And he goes, "Oh, I know," but maybe he doesn't. Um, so we'll see. Yeah, the MERP thing. Well, he's done that twice. I brought up Tractics, and he ripped on that and all that sort of thing. So, what was the one thing he said where I thought, well, he must really not like me because oh, I don't remember what it was. Something about MERP, middle earth role playing, but that's okay. So I accidentally blocked his account, so that's not going to make me look any better in his. It really was accidentally. I don't know. I got a hijack. My browser got hijacked, or an attempt was made to do so, and I I hit buttons in desperation, and apparently a couple of people got blocked. Um, Oops. So yeah, I've never really even cut up about playing Bill down or anything like that. I just ask silly questions and say kind of silly things. Uh, I was a little miffed about that guy that told me I need to take my medication because I didn't like the games he had to say. But that was something in the chat, and I just told that guy, "Hey, you don't really need to. That's unnecessary." And then I just turned the guy off, so I didn't have to listen to him anymore. Um, I may have said some terse things there. I think the terse was that we don't need to be doing that. I don't think I got foul or anything like that. I says, some people just like different things. Why am I not allowed to like that? Yeah. Hmm. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. It was as far as the hack. I think that has to do with some of the activity that I've been, and then I don't mean pornography or anything like that, but I have um, done more with uh, I've done things on the computer that I usually try to avoid doing as far as file transfers and stuff like that. And it may have attracted some attention. So apparently file transfer sites can be a haven for that sort of thing. And I didn't know that. I'd never had a problem before. I use everything from Mega Upload, LimeWire, and all that stuff. But I've got Dropbox, and I've never had a problem. But I read some cybersecurity thesis that said that can lead to people dropping that particular Trojan, and apparently I picked one up. So I'll work it out. But I am all thumbs with a keyboard and a mouse, and what happens is the computer stalls out for a second, and you're hitting things trying to get it to reply, and it's noting those commands. They just don't function. All of a sudden, they happen all at once. And the mouse clicking that was supposed to be clicking on a different button on a different tab, all of a sudden I'm clicking on the Twitter tab, and it led to several people being blocked, including Bill. So I was like, oh Jesus, this guy doesn't like me to begin with. Now he's really gonna not like me, and I didn't mean to do it. I don't. I feel bad about that because I don't have any animosity, and I kind of enjoyed hanging out, and I was hoping I would kind of become part of the crowd there. But after a while, I stopped being Mr. Zany because Mr. Zany didn't seem like it was being well received. I got the same vibe that he wasn't really like it. So I just kind of laid off that sort of stuff. But um, I guess he took. I can't even imagine what specifically that I would have said that he would have interpreted as being directed completely at him. Because usually what I just say is just generally humorously intended, non-specific banter. I don't know, but I'm not sure. But I feel bad about it. I don't want anybody to be hating me because I don't try to be hostile. I'm just I'm not always the most socially skilled individual, and sometimes I think that trying to act like you're funny will get you better received by people. But bad idea, I guess. Yeah, who is the third one out here? Who else is watching? Let's see. Hmm. Well, uh, all right. Hmm. I don't. Yeah, I don't know who else is out here listening. Okay. Yeah, there. Oh, okay. Running two at the same time. Yeah, that's too bad about that. I that I don't like to do that sort of thing. It was not my intent, so I feel bad. Uh, didn't want to insult anybody or anything like that. Just goofing off. I'm racking my brain trying to think what could you have said that would be extremely wrong? I not I don't doubt I did it because I can be a bonehead dipshit, but thinking, what did you really say? Yeah. Uh can't what did I say? Uh yeah, other than a reaction to, everything's complicated stuff, all that kind of crap. I do kind of get a little bit snarly when that stuff is invoked, so but I wouldn't think he would have taken that too personally. But I know I've made, just kind of made some nothing even derogatory in jest that I can think of. But again, sometimes I can't remember what I had for breakfast. That kind of stuff lingers with me. You start going, what did you do? How you start analyzing it. Hmm. Oh well. Uh, but it'll be in the back of my mind all night. What did you do? What did you say? What was wrong? Mm, right. I got to slow down on coffee. I've been doing too much talking to coffee. Coffee. That's one thing. Now that you mention it, I got to tune it. But it ain't gonna happen today. And I could just go use some. Hey, how's it going? I could use some more. Yeah. How's it been? Um, very good. I want. Here's the thing with the character creation thing. I want Magenta to see it first. I I want to make sure that there were spots where I feel like there wasn't enough excitement, that the tone of voice was too monotone, and I want to make sure that everybody's going shit. Even the guy who's making this isn't having fun because it was kind of late at night. That's another problem. It's not a problem with her, but one of the difficulties uh, that Magenta's having with her work schedule is and her home life is that she's really not able to get the silence she needs to do recordings or lives until fairly late at night. And now that we are as old as we are, being a night owl doesn't it doesn't work anymore when you start ass starts dragging because uh, it's after 10. So I just want to make sure that we didn't, you know, look. She's better at reading that sort of stuff. She's got a history in sales and marketing, so I want her to see it and be like, make sure that it doesn't look too downtrodden or sound such. There you go. Yeah. So that's the only concern I have. But yes, it's made. and we'll put it out. Just want to make sure we don't sound like zombies. Um, but it's big, and she won't. It would be the seventh time we've tried. It would be the seventh take. Uh, Various things have interrupted or ruined. She's got a large family in her house, 7 people, and they don't always respect her boundaries. So sometimes we've been making these things, and all of a sudden it becomes Brady Bunch where two siblings start fighting in their room or something like that. There's always some bullshit. So, uh, but we finally got it done. But I just thought, I told somebody I was going to do it. I told the guy who's paying that we were going to do it. We should do it. We should finish it. We should put it out. But why put it out if it sounds like we're half dead? Because it'll just ruin the vibe. But there's only about 10 minutes of that. I should just forget about it and just go ahead and do it. It's really not that bad. I'm trying. I suffer from being a perfectionist to the point where nothing gets done because I keep wanting to redo it, retweak it, and change it, and polish it till it's never released. So, uh, but yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd love to go on other people's lives and do it. It's too. Oh well. Oh shit. So I can't stop thinking about the thing with Bill. I That makes me I feel bad. I hope I haven't burned a bridge or you know it has not been my intention to be anything other than a jovial kind of class clown in that place, but oops. Yeah, yeah, that's good advice. I do tend to, and it's you can just over sharpen yourself, over sharpen your spear. So maybe just go ahead and put it out. Yeah, that's good. I do. I bet, but I mean, just personally, he seems like a real decent dude. I wouldn't want him to, to think ill that I'm some sort of troll or something like that. But or whatever. Uh Reprobate, uncouth, uncool, whatever. Um yeah, yeah. No, you're right. You can't over polish. I was a little worried about my monotone state for a while there, but it was about 3:30 in the morning. So eh. But yeah, we got through it all. But yeah, we can maybe do some more too. Um, if we do enough, then we can play. Then we can play through the demo thing, which would be neat. Um, the Zymax Tower thing. So I should also put out that D&D, or I keep doing that D-Day one. Uh, Even though it's World War II, it's still kind of neat. It's still role playing. It's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. Uh, I don't know what it could have been. It could have been a lot of things. I have a lot of hot takes on Twitter. They Some of them might not. It might not be what I said. In the live, he might have read one of my tweets and snarled at that. So I know he's a big Star Wars fan. See, that's the thing. I've had conversations with him on the live, uh, back in not as a guest, but in the chat that were fairly extensive, talking about Atari and things like that. Um, I just got it in my head that I needed to be more perky because I needed to get people to see that I'm you know forcing myself to be, I don't know, the life of the party or whatever the fuck. So I started cracking wise and saying silly things and just to try to make people laugh and stuff like that. Um, but like you say, some things may not, they may look funny when you read it, but maybe it's not funny to somebody else when they read it. So oops. Uh, but yeah. Oh well. Hopefully we'll work it out. I feel bad, but I hate doing that. I hate I'm always afraid I'm going to put my foot in my mouth, and sometimes I do it, and I go, "How do you make yourself to make sure you don't do that again?" Um, West End games, man, that's my jam. That's my favorite game. I play that over anything. So, but yeah, let's get the game going. Let's put the character creation out there. Get some people to fill out a character sheet. Um, just grab your steno. You don't need a form. Just write it out. We can we can play. I got time to play online to play that game. Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. Weekday night, if somebody's got it. I'm not doing anything on weekday nights anymore. I was, but except for Monday when I do my big show, my long show. So, and it's not a campaign or anything. It should be able to do it in one or two sessions. It's just a little mini thing, just to get the feel. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I don't want him to think ill of me. I think he's what he does is great and it's fun to watch. So, and I probably the problem is I try too hard. I try too hard to sometimes I try too hard to be accepted. I got on his Discord and tried to talk to people too and all that. So I don't know. But what else? Hey, it's somebody. Oh, that's not mine. What else can we play? So I got that. I got the paracosmic convergence going. We've talked about that. Anybody speaking of West End games, if anybody wants to play, I've got at least one guy who's looking to play. Maybe him and his wife. Magenta will play that, presumably. So there's three. Two more people, about all I need. The more the merrier, but at least five. And I got a big fat Star Wars campaign to play. It's my favorite thing. I love that shit. Is that is it? I, I just sometimes I always I lived with a girl who said, the whole grumpy thing isn't really, but she goes, you can be a real hard ass mother, and uh, she says, you don't smile in public. I says, we live in the ghetto. I don't smile in the ghetto. It, you know, uh, there's nothing to smile at here. So you got to look like you're ready to fight. Otherwise, you're going to get into one. But she says you carry yourself in a way that doesn't seem like people want to get to know you or something. So I guess hearing that for 15 years, I've overcompensated where I just try to force something when I get into it. Hey, I'm funny. Wee, look at me, funny. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I love. So well, I'm a big Star Wars fan, old Star Wars fan. And I really love West End game stuff. So I've written one, two. So it'd be five uh, different campaigns. Two of them are real militant, and some people might not even consider them role playing games, even though it's role playing mechanics largely. They're based on the X-wing uh, and Tie Fight, X-wing versus Tie Fighter, that series of uh, PC games. Uh, the storyline that goes with those, I picked parts of that out and turned it into a kind of campaign. But the other three are one is just after the Clone Wars, like a month after the Clone Wars. It's the very beginnings of the Empire. The second one is before, about a year before Rogue One and the original Star Wars, and it's about the beginnings of the rebellion. Um, and then the last one is just after Return of the Jedi, and it's about the beginning of the rest of it. The movie ends with the Death Star blowing up and all that. So it's really kind of a prequel to the uh, Thrawn trilogy books. Those are the three big RPGs I got. The biggest one is the beginning of the rebellion, and I've played it before. I played it for about a year and a half, about 14 months with a group of people, and I've got all this material, and I'm ready to go again with it. It was really fun. I want to do it again, so I'm looking for people to do that. And I do Greyhawk on Sunday, and one of the Greyhawk guys says, "Well, I used to play Star Wars, and I'd love to play it again." And so I go, "Oh yay, somebody will play with me." It's been really hard to find players. Everybody's all down on Star Wars because of whatever, but I just want to play the old school stuff. So it's just something I'm doing for fun. But I also would love to use Paracosmic Convergence, my RPG, to do it. As much as I love West End games, and not just West End games, Star Wars. I always thought West End games, most of their stuff was great. I loved their war games. I loved their RPGs. Um, they made a lot of great war games. The Ghostbusters thing is, I don't get into the Ghostbusters game so much that I want to play it all the time, but it was a fun little, it was fun to play a couple of times just because of a fan of the movie and stuff like that. But it's a good system. Um, so they made a lot of great stuff. But Star Wars is the greatest. The Price of Freedom was great. You know, kind of the Red Dawn ish kind of thing about a Soviet invasion. That was a good one. Well, I'd like to get people to move from Discord to this what I'm using right now. I think this is superior in a lot of ways. But the people who play Greyhawk with me, they've been real resistant. They don't like Discord that much, but they're like, if you switch to something and it doesn't work, I don't want to have to configure and all that sort of stuff. But if you play this, use this. I found the same digital dice that Bill was using, that Bill Sylvie uses. And I think that would be a lot easier. It sounds better. Uh, Discord starts to get all funky after using it for about an hour and a half, stuff like that. So I'd like to do this. And but it does allow me to share screen. So, um, I might do tabletop. I've got a different system where I can have everybody join tabletop simulator if that's part of the game, and then record that or stream it live while we play. So depends on if we're going to use tabletop simulator. What the I don't want to give too much away, but it would help that at least the first session is on tabletop simulator. And depending on where you go with it, and if it goes into usually it takes 2 sessions, I would think, provided the sessions are 4 hours or something like that. But it's not a very long game, really. But shit can happen, and you might need tabletop simulator again. But all right, man. Thanks for stopping through, saying hi. Talk to you again. Appreciate you coming by. But yeah, I would like to do it that way. I have not seen the new Ghostbusters movies. I'm a curmudgeon. That's probably why a lot of people don't like my shit, because I get so grouchy about that stuff. But um, I hate reboots. I hate these kind of. I know they're not all super wokey or whatever, but I kind of I've kind of gotten to the point where I'd rather see nothing new come from it than is this going to be some complete, shitty thing. So I haven't seen the last two. No. Uh, some people are like, they're not half as bad as you heard. There's not as much of that or whatever, but I just haven't. Plus, I'm not one to. I'm kind of a homebody these days. I haven't been going to the movie theater, and I don't have cable TV at all. I'm weirdo like that. I don't want to pay for it, so I have no access to it to check it out on Netflix or anything like that. So I pay for my cable for my internet, and that's it, and my phone, because they make me. Um, that's it. But yeah, I'd like to play it here live on the what I'm using right now is StreamYard, and I like this the best uh, out of all of them as far as playing games. But if I use tabletop, it doesn't really work that well with that because of the way it's set up. So I have this other thing that I use from NVIDIA to use tabletop simulator. I wish more people would get into tabletop simulator. I love to play miniature games too, and I can play miniature games online using tabletop simulator. But most people hate the program. I love it. Yeah, I don't. I tried using OBS, the free stuff, and I just my grouchy old ass. I didn't want to learn all of it. I tried learning it. And I got frustrated and sick of it. Um, I really like the ease of being like right now. If you were to like, you could come up, and I call it coming up. I don't know why. That's what everybody referred it to. But I can send you the link, and you can join, and it'd be like a panel conversation. And I was doing a lot of those lives with people. I was doing it with Victor Gorchev. I was doing it with Bear. I was doing it with a bunch of people about well, was it 6 months ago? Earlier this summer, more like 3 or 4. But anyway, I was doing a lot of them, and I really like that format, that group discussion CNN panel looking format. And it's with StreamYard, it's just takes a second. I didn't have to set up a mic or anything. All I did was log in, and the thing just started working. Everywhere else, I had to set it up and fart around with it. So I was happy with this, and I thought I was going to have to get rid of it because they wanted to raise the price to $45, and it's good, but it ain't that good. So I canceled, and they said, we'll give you 40% off for the next 6 months. So that took it down to $26 a month till March or April or whatever. And I said, all right, that's fine. But the minute it goes past a dime past 20 this is enough. I think $20 is more reasonable, but I went, all right, I went with it. I tried using Streamlab, and it was okay. And I was going to get that because it was about $20 a month, but Magenta had a real problem getting her microphone to work with it, and it was, I don't know, this was so much smoother. So I just said, I'll go with it. My camera sucks. I can't move around. My back hurts. Sometimes I got to sit forward to fix my back, but it makes me go out of focus, and I look like I'm. But anyway, so I just use this. It's simple and easy. And I think it would work great for gaming. And I got that DD dice thing. But I play Greyhawk in Discord because they won't move over to this. It gets kind of annoying, but they seem to like it. The Greyhawk. I got people cheering me for that one. I didn't think I was gonna do that good with it, but they like it. So, and most people like the Star Wars. Some people didn't like, the rules I used or whatever, but most people like the Star Wars, the content or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, we shopped around. We looked at that Riverside or whatever it is. We looked at a bunch of them. We being me and Magenta, and we just came to the conclusion that this was the best value for us and was the easiest to use. And I can do this. As silly as this is, what do you think of this? I thought this was hot shit, but maybe another person thought it was cool, but I don't know. Check it out. I don't know. Did you see it at the beginning? Did you see the intro with the dragon? Maybe you did see that. Well, here, check. It's only 9 seconds. Check it out. Watch this. I'm easily impressed. I thought that was awesome. I didn't have to pay for it. That's the intro. I got that for free. There's a place called Pixabay, and they give you like I remember in the mid '90s when the World Wide Web first came out, you could get like every sound effect from Star Wars, Indiana Jones. There was a place that gave you racing sound effect. All of it was free. Now they want $3 for a WAV file that lasts 10 seconds. So I looked around at a lot of these free places over the years, and most of them were filled with garbage or they were filled with Trojans and stuff. I finally found this place, Pixabay, and most of the stuff that it has is crap. But every once in a while you'll find a nugget. It's got a couple of good videos. That was one, and it had a good dragon sound effect. So I took the dragon sound effect and spliced it in with that video. And I thought that's pretty cool. It was like the best thing they had there. But I have a few of their things because everything else that says free it's like people hitting cowbells with sticks and shit like that. This one had a couple of good machine guns and stuff like that. So that's why I made that. I don't know why. I just thought it was kind of cool. The other one I wanted, but I couldn't get because you had to pay money. I'm not paying $5 for it, but there was a sword clash sound. And I wanted to have an animated effect of like the logo shows up and then two knights kind of show up from the screen and they clash, something like that. I thought that'd be kind of groovy, but I couldn't. It was too hard to do. It cost money. Yeah. So I wanted a fire breather, but the one that they had that was a fire breather wasn't. It was it looked very cartoony and badly done. So this one looked pretty good at that resolution and stuff. And then I found that sound that went perfect with it. So I'm like, yeah, man, we're doing that. So before that, I had some free rock music thing that I was playing, and it was okay. But I think probably people find that stuff headache inducing. So I went with this. So then next time I'll add in the like it'll fade away and then it'll fade into the campaigns and conquests and it'll be like a whole little icon thing or whatever. So that'll start up things with that. So that's the best. That's I mean I couldn't do that myself. The best I can do is make like a slideshow with music and on like Windows Movie Maker or something like that. I which I do make for Star Wars. I make little video briefings for Star Wars and stuff like that. So that some people liked it. Some people just wanted to go get it. Don't play those. Let's just play. And I said, no, I like this. It does the crawl and everything. It's fucking awesome, man. It plays the music. I got the music. So it's like the beginning of a movie. It's really cool. I was looking for one, but I can't find it, so you don't have to watch it. But I thought they were awesome. So yeah. Um, but yeah, that sounds good with all the people we'll work with. I mean, if I'll contact Bill and say, "Hey, I found that stuff I told you about a year ago with the art thing." Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll do this. This is even better. I got Rob's email. Well, the one he gives to everybody, not his private one, but I'll email Rob and say, "Hey, because I told him about the art stuff too." I says, "I've got that stuff. If you're still interested in looking at it." He's another guy I think I pissed off and absolutely didn't mean to, but the last time he replied to me, it was really harsh. And I go, what now? Why is this guy got it up his ass for me? What did I do now? Uh, but he did say, I'll look at the stuff that you've got and all that sort of thing. So I just thought I'd email him and say, if you're still interested in playing with my group, like you said, you know, in the past, we'd like to have you. And, you know, we'd be honored if you don't, you know, if you're too busy. Okay. And then would you like to look at this stuff? And I think maybe bringing Bill Sylvie in on it would be helpful too. And then maybe work work my way into good graces with them or back into it or whatever. See if I can repair those bridges that way. I don't know, but yeah, Robbie. I mean, he was friendly before, and then he's like I said, till I'm blue in the face. This is the way you do. You know, he got all. I was like, okay, buddy, it's all right. He's mad. I don't know. I don't know. A lot of it seems to be in to me. A lot of it seems to be the shadow dark thing. Everybody seemed to get their back out of joint about that. I just it just wasn't my thing. Some people like peanut butter, some people don't. What but people got all offended that I didn't want to, genuflect to that game. And then everybody started to like a lot of people just weren't friendly after that little episode. Yeah. I mean, I just that was a weird that whole thing was weird. Came on so strong and sudden. And I had just watching what certain people were saying to each other over that. It was so I don't know. Maybe Bill's mad about that or whatever. I just keep thinking, what did I say to make him mad? But I did notice he seemed to not be very friendly. Whatevs. Ay, 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 ay. I got reading Twitter here. Um, I don't know. So I want to show one of those videos though. Let me see. They might all be on the hard drive I had to take away though. I wonder if I can show any of this. Okay, that's not. Let me try that. Here's one of the. Oh, maybe it's there. Well, let me see. This is one of the maps that I showed people they thought was great for the paracosmic convergence. Um, but it's totally AI in it. So, but nobody thought it was. They're like, "Ooh, that looks great." I was like, zoom in and try to read some of that stuff. It looks like it's written in Hebrew or something. So I use these instead. These are real deals you can have made up. So those were a couple. That one is what we've been doing is we for a while me and Magenta were doing these lives. We had collaborative world building. I'd like to do this again. There's a couple of people that came in and participated. It was very enjoyable. So this is a random map maker, but then you can touch it up as you want. You can change it and stuff. So I had the thing make up a random map, and then we tweaked some of the water and made some of those islands up there and changed some of the names. And we went from you can't see it in the background picture, but on the software that it uses, it generates borders that you can highlight so that there's actually different. These are all different countries. So we went from country to country, made up uh, a government. Give it like, well, is it a theocracy or a monarchy or whatever? Did that? Came up with some culture. Came up with military. Is it got a big military, that sort of stuff? What's its primary source of income? What's it export? What's it import? What are the people like? What are the religions like? Stuff like that. And went through each one and just created a world populated with all these different countries. And then we were going to go back and put in, well, we did some of it already. We put in monsters in different places, like certain areas. There's a lot of undead hanging out in certain other areas. There's forest creatures or whatever. Um, and we generated politics, like some trade negotiation and things like that. And we're going to make this a full campaign setting that you can use in any system, make it system agnostic. And we've got another map that's going to be a second continent that's going to be across the ocean from this one. And then we've got a map that's going to be a sci-fi, and another one that's much smaller, but it'll be horror. We just wanted to keep making these. It's really fun to do, especially when people get involved. other people. We had some guy come in, or gal, I'm not even sure it was a guy or a gal, but came in and typed, and they were very knowledgeable about um, Eastern culture mostly. So they were good at coming up with certain names and had some really great ideas and stuff like that. So just collaborative world building. Just thought they would be fun lives to do. So I'm going to start doing some more of those. I have them recorded. There's hours of this, 9, 10, 12 hours. The problem is nobody wants to watch a 5-hour live all the way through on a tape, and editing 5 hours worth of material. Half the time you load 5 hours worth of video into the editor that I've got, and it just crashes because so the first thing you got to do is hope it gets in there, and then you cut it up in half, and then you go back and edit it a little bit. So, but they're all on the YouTube pages and stuff like that. They're really fun. So I was hoping to get more people to do them. Yep. So I want to, I don't know if there's specifically for paracosmic convergence is a good idea, but certainly compatible with as a supplementary thing, would do that for sure. So the best one, well, the one that Magenta likes the best is the little island here, the Kingdom of Woda. It's a bunch of dragon worshiping cultists that feed their criminals uh, to dragon larvae, or whatever you would call a dragon, like a baby dragon or whatever. So they sacrifice their criminals to them. Fucking crazy shit. And uh, their whole culture is just about black dragons, and the mountains that are near them are where these black dragons go to roost, lay eggs, and hatch new dragons. So they make their prisoners work at this camp near the lake, and then they're indoctrinated into the cult and said that they're going to be, it's like very Mayan or whatever, like, or Aztec or whatever, where there's like several of them, and they're sacrificed by being fed to the dragons. So, and because that Harmony Ginger chick kept mocking the whole thing, we decided, just as kind of a joke to it, we made dragon poop a commodity to be traded. So the country next to Woda, or one of them, is extremely agricultural based, and they import dragon poop because it helps keep the farmland fertile. So we just thought that was funny to add that in there because we've got a dweeby sense of humor, but it's got all this inner political stuff, and so we want to play paracosmic convergence and do like sandbox campaigns in these places and stuff like that, if we can get people to do it. Just another project we're working on, but they definitely can be used with paracosmic convergence. I've got mass battles for paracosmic convergence too. Got the whole domain play thing and all that. Still looking for one of my videos. I guess they're all on the other drive. Anyway, let's see if we get some people. Let me retweet myself here. All righty. Oh, now the yin yang guys streaming. What are they doing? Hmm. Well, anyway, still looking to see if I can. I guess I don't have any of those. I like playing with the audio visual stuff here. Uh, oh, I have an AD&D 1E campaign. If anybody's interested in that, about Vikings and fighting in Midgard. I thought more people would be into that, but I don't know. It's hard to get the word out, so maybe they just haven't heard about it. But I made that. Got a little bit of history, got a little bit of fantasy, got a little bit of mythology, all running on uh, first edition Dungeons and Dragons. I even got a title if I can remember it. I guess I got rid of that one. Shoot. Oh, here it is. Nope, that's not it. Well, anyway, uh, Vikings. They're cool. Here it is. Well, yeah, Legends of the Norsemen. So, didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So, but I don't want to go to bed early because then I'll wake up early. All righty. Oh, let's see if I can get Magenta to show up. Yep, Vikings. Oh shit. That's not good. I just broke my. Yikes. Yeah, they're. Can you still hear me? I think I broke this thing. Christ. That's not good. Shit. That's a. Yeah. Okay. Well, hello? It broke. Oh, crap. Well, it looks like I'm buying some new things. Hello? Hmm. Thing just, I took it off for a second and snapped. Okay. Damn it. Oh, wow. Huh. that's as good as it's getting. Oh, Christ. I don't know why that happened. Uh yep. Yep. Well, we'll have to see what we can do about that. Huh. Well, if it still works, gotta be a way to fix that. Hmm. That's not good. Yep, there's nothing to do about that. Hmm. Yeah. Oh God. Let's see if they still function as earphones here. I'm gonna. Well, I don't have to do that to you. I could do this. Wonder if I got any sound on them. I can't imagine why I wouldn't. It just looks like it broke on the twisty part or whatever. They were adjustable to form fit around your ears. Let's just see if it works. Yep. Yep. Nothing a little crazy glue can't handle for at least the time being. Huh. Yeah. Yeah. At least I can afford it. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. I wouldn't be able to otherwise. I think I, wow. I don't know what that was. I took the glasses off. Maybe I clicked on something. Well, that's embarrassing. Looks like a trip to Walmart's in my future. So, anyway, um, what we got? What else am I working on? I can talk about. Um got my war game. That's not even really a thing till later. We got one thing at a time, but I was making a war game too. Uh, what else for the RPG? Um, oh yeah, let's see. Where did that go? I came up with here it is. Oh wait, I can do this. Let me hit all the right buttons. Um, I'll get it there yet. Here we go. So how do I make that bigger? That's not what I wanted. There we go. This way, maybe? Nope. What if I did that? Nope. Nope. This is the way. There we go. So, where'd it go? I like to use this as a means of collaboration and a starting point. But the part that I wanted to do, is also good for formatting. Oh, there we go. There. The that became the domain thing. Just getting some ideas and using that. It's boy, this looks dorky. Uh, just a good way to flesh out buying uh, castles, domain stuff, and dealing with infrastructure. I wonder if there's a way I could tape that. Unbelievable. Uh, but I like the idea of domain play, so I went into that with the idea of being able to do it even in a modern setting where you had kind of a Sim City. I mean, not that super detail, but building infrastructure, building roads, things like that, uh, as a domain play deal, and I'll chart it out, things like that. Uh, how much it costs per foot of wall for a fortress, that kind of situation. Mm. So domain play is very enjoyable to me. It's got that uh, war game element to it. So mm. This looks so stupid. I can't believe. All righty. Well, we'll do this. I really like these. Yeah. Nope. No siree. Mm-mm-mm. Right. Uh, yeah. Hmm. Nope. All right. Let's see. See what we can do here. All right. Oh, boy, oh boy. Oh. Gonna switcheroo here once I can find all the right buttons. Okay, so that's not gonna work. Oh, what a shit. Yeah. All right. Okay, you have a good one. Thanks for hanging out and appreciate all your help. And we'll fix that while we've got an opportunity too. So you have a good night. Thanks again for all your assistance. I'm gonna rearrange this thing too. Talk to you soon. Fucking wiggles when I turn my fucked up head. Oh shit. All right, folks. Anybody else still out there in lurking land? Enjoy this comedic piece of gold, and we'll see you again. Thanks.